A long time ago, some powerful faction got greedy mining resources from divine ruins, so the Guardians punished them by unleashing a whole mess of ancient monsters, and these giant beasts successfully chased off the miners, who were clearly not paid enough for this. But the monsters could not survive in the human world, slowly turning into spiritual forms, now latching onto human hosts by using reflections like puddles as their gateways. Which brings us to the present day, where the Guardians are apparently still holding a grudge. On a giant city screen, a news report warns everyone about mutated life forms attacking people, while down below, citizens are just trying to get home, heading for the subway. This train pulling into the station looking sleek and modern in the pouring rain, but inside it is a sea of misery, just another Tuesday on public transit apparently. One guy, however, is just trying to tune it all out with his headphones. This is our boy Chinzai, a recent graduate just trying to vibe in a crowded train, who's got no special talents and was kicked out by his family, a real go-getter. Standing nearby is a transit guard looking all official in his armored uniform, when suddenly a shadowy monster hand appears right in front of the guard's face, revealing a massive, drooling beast that has the poor guy completely frozen in terror. This other passengers finally notice, and their faces are pure, unadulterated nope, as everyone panics and shoves, jostling Chinzai out of his musical trance. So he yells at the crowd to watch out, totally oblivious to the actual life-threatening monster. And just like that, the guard is down, a pool of black liquid spreading on the floor. This monster, who looks like a roided-out polar bear in a ripped shirt, starts tearing the train car apart. And all the passengers collectively lose their minds, screaming about the evil mutated life form. Yeah, no kidding. Turns out these monsters are just possessed humans, their inner rage cranked up to 11 by an ancient spirit. This beast goes on a rampage, and Chinzai finally realizes this is not a viral video, it is his actual life. Meanwhile, the train conveniently pulls into the next station, announcing their arrival with zero awareness of the carnage. With a violent jolt, the train slams to a halt, sending bodies and glass flying everywhere. People are basically turned into human pinballs, bouncing off the walls of the car in total chaos. At that moment, the doors slide open, offering a glimmer of hope or maybe just a new level of pandemonium. This crowd stampedes for the exit, trampling each other and shoving Chinzai right back into the mess. Out on the platform, it is a full-blown disaster movie scene with everyone screaming for their lives. Left behind on the ground are lost belongings and that same creepy black goo from the guard. Having been tossed around like a ragdoll, Chinzai looks up, completely rattled and trying to process the horror. Inside the car, the monster stands over its victims, still laser-focused on its demolition project. It is ranting about reclaiming land, so I guess its human host was a very, very angry real estate developer. Our boy Chinzai pieces it together. This is just some poor dude who got parasitized by his own bad vibes. He spots the open door, his brain screaming at him to make a run for it. But then he sees a little girl and her grandma trapped and terrified, and his escape plan hits a moral speed bump. In a shocking display of not running away, he tells them he will be the bait so they can escape. He even hypes himself up, remembering his mediocre track and field career, a true underdog story in the making. But as he squares off with the beast, a shadowy entity watches, having finally found the boy it has been looking for. Chinzai zips past the beast, yelling to get its attention, a classic look at me, distraction play, and he even throws in a mid-air taunt, calling the monster an idiot for good measure. This plan immediately backfires as the beast snatches him by the head, his face a perfect oh crap moment. Held up like a chew toy, Chinzai realizes his track and field career did not quite prepare him for this. Meanwhile, the grandma and kid are safe, now screaming for the guards to help the guy who just saved them. But the monster does not wait, delivering a brutal punch right to Chinzai's face, which sends our boy flying across the car and slamming into the floor with a sickening thud. Spitting up that familiar black goo, he can only glare as the monster scoffs at his failed attempt at heroism. And lying there defeated, he admits he might have miscalculated, a gentle way of saying, I am about to die. Through blurry eyes, he sees the girl and her grandma are safe as the train doors begin to close, and as the doors shut, plunging him into darkness, he is left wondering if this is the end. Outside, the little girl frantically points back at the train, begging the guards to save her big brother. But some new official in a sleek uniform orders everyone to stand down, prioritizing procedure over rescue. Great timing, buddy. Just then, that shadowy entity from before starts to manifest, swirling around some unknown person's arm. While back inside, Chinzai lies broken on the floor, marveling at his truly terrible luck. His hand slowly clenches into a fist, a sign that he is not quite ready to check out yet. And pushing himself up, he refuses to accept this fate, with the monster's shadow looming over him. His consciousness fades into a memory of his own mother calling him a hopeless failure, followed by a flashback to getting cornered by bullies who clearly were not interested in friendship. And to top it all off, he remembers getting rejected by his crush, a whole montage of failure just before he dies. Coughing up blood, Chinzai is filled with pure rage at his own powerlessness. But even on the floor, his eyes burn with a desperate will to keep fighting, his only thought being that he wants to win just for once in his life. This polar bear monster, however, is winding up for the finishing blow, ready to end this, when a flash of golden energy suddenly intercepts the attack out of nowhere, and our boy roars, channeling all his despair into a final scream to survive and win. That is when the shadowy entity from before reveals itself as a golden dragon spirit descending upon him, which dives straight into Chinzai, wrapping around him in a painful surge of power. This spirit takes over, greeting him like an old friend, a very toothy, very scary old friend, sending our boy into some kind of mindscape where he thinks this is just a post-death hallucination. because there is no way this epic power-up could actually be happening to him. But the spirit tells him this is very real, fusing with his body to prove its point. While back in the train car, the monster throws another punch, not waiting for the monologue to finish, only for it to be stopped cold by a newly armored arm. Chinzai, now in a full-on demonic suit, effortlessly catches the massive fist, and with a terrifying grin he offers the monster a little gift called hope. This beast is completely stunned, finally realizing it might have picked on the wrong loser. As Chinzai delivers a punch that just absolutely shatters the monster's face. His hand is now a set of wicked-looking golden claws ready for business, and then they glow an ominous red because why stop at just one power-up color? This dragon spirit explains these new claws can sever the link between a parasite and its host, and with a flash of red, his attack comes down with enough force to tear up the train floor. So Chinzai leaps in for some impromptu surgery, which looks a lot like just slicing the guy in half, striking a pose while declaring the monster's human host is now free from his spiritual freeloader. And just like that, the monster dissolves, leaving the original dude to fall out of the goo, who then collapses onto a seat, probably wondering why his shirt is suddenly missing. Looking pretty rough and foaming at the mouth, the after effects of possession are not pretty. As out floats the actual polar bear spirit, looking like a very angry blue gummy bear, and Chinzai greets it with a casual hello there because of course he does. But this spirit is not here for pleasantries and looks ready for round 2, zipping around him while our boy just stands there completely unbothered by the display, before his armored foot slams down, a clear sign that he is about to end this. Because the dragon spirit inside him gets excited, calling the bear spirit high-quality food. Then it opens a mouthful of nightmare teeth, deciding not to hold back on its snack, and he just straight up inhales the spirit like a Kirby boss battle, looking way too pleased with himself, only for the dragon to immediately complain that it tastes disgusting, so much for a gourmet meal. But before he can celebrate, a squad of armored guards comes charging down the corridor, revealing the security department, who do not look like they are here to give him a medal. And Chinzai can only groan because his timing is just impeccable as always. As his power-up starts to fade at the most critical moment possible, a classic hero problem. As his armor cracks away, Chinzai's human face peeks through, looking utterly bewildered, and his terrifying claws shrink back, leaving him with his normal, far less useful hands. Catching his reflection in the window, he sees a half-demon, half-panicked mess staring back at him, which sends him into a full-blown meltdown, clutching his head and screaming about his sudden transformation. His guards, however, are just staring, asking each other what manga this cosplay is from. Great situational awareness, guys. This whole squad of armored troopers just stares him down, red eyes glowing, clearly not here to ask for an autograph. Our boy then glances over at the original host, who is still shirtless and completely out of it on the seat. And it finally clicks for him as he looks from his claws to the unconscious guy. He actually did that. His new dragon spirit roommate appears, smugly explaining that it saved his life, and yes, he is a parasite host now. So when Chinzai worries he killed the guy, the spirit just calls him a dumbass, clarifying the dude only passed out. Deciding they have seen enough, the guards just open fire, skipping the whole questions part of the job. But a hail of energy blasts comes his way, and his new body dodges them with inhuman agility. As his body contorts in ways it definitely should not, he realizes the spirit is puppeteering him and demands answers. Though the spirit ignores the existential crisis, says they need to escape, and fires a massive blast from his palm. A tranquilizer dart manages to hit him, prompting the spirit to complain that their synchronization is still a little buggy. But instead of passing out, our boy just blushes and says the dart tickles, not the reaction they were expecting. One of the guards reports the obvious, confirming that the tranquilizer dart was totally ineffective. So with plan A being a ticklish failure, the lead guard calls for a shock grenade instead. Getting a handle on the situation, Chinzai seems to take charge, telling the spirit to let him handle it. And for the first time, his demonic face shows pure confidence, ready to take them all on. This lead guard lobs a shock grenade right at Chinzai's face, time for plan B, but with a casual "see ya," our boy just bats a bullet out of the air and bolts, sending the entire squad stumbling back, completely outmatched by his new moves. So he just smashes straight through the train window because doors are for chumps, and now he is leaping between buildings while the guards light him up with purple energy blasts. Back on the platform, the security team is left looking completely useless as their target vanishes, which is when a new captain arrives on the scene with what looks like a cyberwolf on a leash. This is the infantry captain, and she wants to know why her squad let a monster boy escape. Her subordinate can only report that the target was way too agile for them to handle, and she is not impressed, basically calling him a failure right to his face. Ouch, harsh performance review. Meanwhile, her robodog sniffs the unconscious developer, confirming the scene of the crime, while the captain complains about her subordinate's posture before demanding immediate results. Her dog then decides to transform, shifting into a pretty terrifying-looking pale dude, who lands in a crouch, looking like a feral pretty boy who just crawled out of a Hot Topic. This guy, now fully dressed, explains his animal form is just him being polite. Sure, buddy. And looking out the hole, he deduces that a newly possessed host like Chinzai cannot have gotten far. This captain calls her own bureau trash and tries to recruit him, but he is not interested, giving a whole speech about how mystics are special and do not really join clubs. But then he suddenly tells her to wait, sensing something nearby, and whips his head around, having just picked up a new trail. This pale tracker dude tells the captain to hold on while he senses their target's energy. And of course, he immediately tries to renegotiate his contract, saying this will cost extra, a true professional. Closing his eyes, he focuses, trying to lock onto Chinzai's unique spiritual signature. As a strange mist swirls around him while he casts his psychic net across the city, His trail instantly finds Chinzai, who is currently doing some high-speed parkour in his new demon suit, and the tracker hones in on the powerful spiritual energy radiating from our boy's back, specifically locking onto the dragon spirit itself, the source of all this chaos. But as he gets a clearer read, he starts sweating, realizing this is no ordinary parasite. Because he is met with a psychic vision of the massive golden dragon, which does not look happy to be found. This sheer force of its presence hits him like a freight train, making him break out in a cold sweat. And this thing looks absolutely feral, like it is about to eat his soul through the psychic internet. He is physically thrown back by the mental backlash, clutching his chest in pure shock, his eyes bugging out as he realizes what kind of monster they are actually chasing. This vision shows the dragon practically swallowing him, and he admits this tracking technique is way too creepy, while his captain just watches this whole meltdown, probably wondering if she is getting her money's worth. Snapping out of it, the tracker calmly announces he has found him, a wisp of smoke leaving his lips, leaving the captain completely stunned that he actually managed to pull it off so quickly. This effort immediately takes its toll, however, and the guy just collapses forward, totally spent, wishing her good luck as he falls and calling the target impressive before completely checking out. She grabs him by the shirt, desperately demanding the location before he passes out for good. This tracker, looking like he just wrestled a ghost, barely chokes out the location, District 9. With the info secured, the infantry captain looks down, her expression all business and zero patience. Then she points to some guy crackling with electricity, calling him Flying Squirrel and giving the order to move. And this new guy, looking like a punk rock Wolverine, eagerly accepts the mission to chase down their target. A massive crack of lightning erupts as he launches himself forward like a blue-streaked rocket, leaving the captain to smirk, boasting that absolutely no one can outrun her top speedster. We then see a blur of pure velocity tearing through the city's skyline at impossible speeds. Meanwhile, Chinzai is still doing his best Spider-Man impression across the rooftops, completely unaware. And he is busy arguing with his new roommate, who clarifies this possession is a permanent no-return policy situation. Our boy complains that all this parkour is making him sick because he is afraid of heights, a demon with vertigo, perfect. This spirit just tells him to suck it up, since a powerful tracker is probably on their tail down below. But Chinzai is past the point of reason, screaming that he just wants to get down now. So his dragon buddy calls him an idiot for throwing a tantrum in midair, which is honestly fair. This full-blown panic attack causes him to lose his footing completely, sending him plummeting from the sky while flailing like a cartoon character. He screams all the way down before crashing into a narrow alleyway with a massive thud. And after face-planting the pavement, he groans that the landing hurt like hell. Yeah, no kidding. This dragon spirit scolds him, saying the armor saved his life but is now offline for repairs, leaving him on his own. Now back in his civvies, Chinzai stumbles away, telling the spirit to mind its own business. He immediately runs into some very hungry-looking thugs because his luck is just that good today. This lead thug spots him, rubbing his hands together like he just found a winning lottery ticket. But Chinzai's eyes widen when he sees these are not just street punks, they are armored goons, and the whole crew comes leaping down into the alleyway with some nasty-looking claws, only to find the alley completely empty save for a single solitary trash can. Our boy lets out a sigh of relief, thinking he has actually managed to give them the slip. Because his brilliant escape plan was to literally hide inside the garbage, a true master of stealth. His dragon roommate immediately asks for their next move, suggesting a shelter near a clock tower, explaining that going home is a terrible idea since the security bureau will be waiting for him. And Chinzai's biggest regret in this life-or-death situation is not deleting his special movie collection, Priorities Man. Even the ancient, all-powerful dragon spirit is just baffled by his host's incredibly human concerns, but their little heart-to-heart is being watched from a rooftop high above the alley. It is Flying Squirrel, the captain's speedster, who has tracked him down with a smug look on his face, and he immediately dive-bombs the alley, forcing Chinzai to dodge a hail of energy blasts, leaving our boy completely cornered with absolutely nowhere left to run. Then Flying Squirrel lands, holding one of the alley thugs upside down, and tells Chinzai he is under arrest. This rest of the goon squad is already down for the count, tossed around like a bunch of ragdolls, as he lands without a single scratch, making it painfully clear who is in charge here. This guy offers a deal, hand over the spirit possessing his body and they will grant him his freedom. But the dragon spirit knows better, telling Chinzai they have no choice but to fight their way out. So Chinzai agrees to cooperate, stunning his own spirit who can only ask what. At the sudden betrayal, Chinzai clarifies his idea of cooperation was with the dragon, not the authorities, much to the spirit's relief. And with a crazed grin, he lunges at Flying Squirrel, putting on a great show of fighting his parasite. But his punch is stopped cold because this speedster is clearly on a whole other level, who just scoffs at the boring little cunning moves, completely unimpressed by the feint. Thrilled by the loyalty, the dragon spirit hooks him up with a seriously cool demonic claw, and now properly armed, Chinzai gives a quick thanks, ready to throw down for real this time. Flying Squirrel tries to just grab the new weapon, but it repels him with a burst of raw energy, sending the speedster flipping backward through the air from the sheer force of the rejection. Though he lands gracefully, kicking up dust and looking more annoyed than actually hurt, our boy is already geeking out over his new knuckle duster, earning an immediate correction from his roommate, who explains this divine claw was forged by his adorable ghost blob friends, the cutest blacksmiths ever. Done playing games, Flying Squirrel announces that attacking an officer means the arrest is now forced, but Chinzai is all in, declaring he will not give up his freedom or his new partner. And he is practically vibrating with energy, yelling for the guy to bring it on, totally fired up for this fight. Flying Squirrel just glares, promising our boy is going to pay for this choice, a classic villain promise. So he leaps forward to attack, demanding surrender, only to find his target has vanished. Just as the spirit screams a warning, Flying Squirrel appears right behind Chinzai, way too fast to track. And a brutal kick sends our boy flying, completely blindsided by the sheer speed of the assault. His spirit roommate offers some quick tactical advice: aim for the legs to counter his speed. So taking that to heart, Chinzai braces himself, claws crackling with power, ready for round 2. Flying Squirrel comes in with a lightning-fast kick, but Chinzai's new claw blocks it cold, though the sheer force of the blow sends him crashing into a pile of metal canisters. And his dragon buddy chimes in with a comforting, "Do not worry, I am here." But Chinzai just yells at him for the useless advice, since the spirit's power is what tanked the hit. His roommate warns him that the speedster is already on the move again, so our boy grabs the nearest heavy object, looking for any kind of opening. With a grunt, he swings the canister right at Flying Squirrel's head, who just shatters the makeshift weapon with his own bladed arms, completely unfazed. And now he is officially annoyed, calling Chinzai a damn brat for even trying. This just fires up the dragon's spirit, who roars that he has not fought in ages and will not be pushed around, unleashing a furious barrage of slashes against the speedster's defenses. And for a moment, their attacks are perfectly matched, claw against blade in a shower of sparks. Flying Squirrel actually gets pushed back, digging his heels in to stop the momentum. A look of genuine surprise on his face that this kid is putting up a real fight, because that divine claw actually managed to crack his armor, much to his disbelief. Panting, Chinzai boasts that he is still good to go, claiming his claws are the best weapon there is, which sends Flying Squirrel into a full-on rage, erupting in dark energy and promising to rip him to shreds. And he finally realizes what is going on, sensing the parasitic spirit and identifying Chinzai as a heteromorph. This dragon spirit scoffs, noting that the security bureau must be desperate if they had to call in outside help, then explains that this guy is also possessed, and Chinzai's attack just disrupted the balance between host and spirit. This dragon explains that Chinzai's attack did not sever the connection, it just royally messed it up, which unleashes all of Flying Squirrel's pent-up rage and pain in a storm of dark energy, causing him to go full beast mode, transforming into a massive wolfman demanding the parasite. And Chinzai suddenly recognizes this condition from the train, realizing the spirit has completely taken over. With a furious roar, the wolfman lunges forward, a blur of pure, unrestrained power, and he lands a devastating punch that sends our boy flying like a ragdoll, his dragon roommate screaming at him to find his footing before he gets splattered. Chinzai barely manages to skid to a halt, bracing himself against the overwhelming force, just as the dragon yells a warning about a massive vortex of dark energy coming from the left. This wolfman is now a whirlwind of attacks, forcing Chinzai to desperately block and dodge, and even the ancient spirit admits he is running on fumes, warning they cannot last much longer. Our boy is clearly on his last legs, bent over and struggling to even stand against the assault. But instead of backing down, he gets a wild look in his eyes and decides it is time to go all in. His divine claw flares with power, transforming into an even more wicked-looking weapon, and screaming, he charges forward, tearing up the pavement with his newly upgraded claws. This dragon spirit fully syncs up, lending its power as Chinzai's eyes blaze with golden energy, letting him slide under a massive swipe and deflect the attack in a powerful golden arc. This redirected blast goes careening down the street, smashing into a car and terrifying some bystanders. And totally spent, Chinzai catches his breath while his roommate smugly notes their teamwork is improving. Our boy just smirks, silently agreeing that maybe this whole possession thing has its perks after all. This deflected blast slams into a delivery truck, sending the terrified bystanders running for their lives. And Chinzai just glances back at the collateral damage like, "Whoops, my bad." Everyone's panicking that the wolfman vanished, leaving our boy totally confused about where he went. But he did not disappear, he just launched himself into the sky like a furry, rage-fueled missile. A split second later, Chinzai's eyes widen as he spots the monster hurtling back down to the street, only for it to land in front of some new guy in a varsity jacket, completely ignoring its original target. This new kid immediately powers up, his eyes glowing yellow as he unleashes his own set of wicked red claws. This wolfman lunges without hesitation, and the two are instantly a blur of savage, high-speed attacks, leaving Chinzai stunned that this new fighter is so fast he is literally leaving afterimages. But the whole thing was a feint. The wolfman is suddenly right behind him, whispering a classic "I am here" threat. Before Chinzai can even process it, he is caught in a brutal chokehold, completely overpowered by the beast. Our boy is totally restrained, recognizing this is basically checkmate in a back alley brawl. He knows he's about to pass out while the wolfman just grins, clearly savoring the win. In a last-ditch effort, he asks the dragon for the armor, but it is still on cooldown, truly impeccable timing. He is gasping for air, sweat pouring down his face as the chokehold tightens its grip. Thinking this is the end, his dragon spirit gives a surprisingly heartfelt farewell speech, thanking him for the partnership no matter how brief it was, a genuinely touching moment. But Chinzai's eyes snap open with pure grit, telling his roommate it is way too early for goodbyes. Demanding the spirit come back after this, he prepares to do something absolutely insane, and with a final scream, he drives his own demonic claw straight into his chest. Chinzai's eyes roll back in agony from his own insane gamble, which forces the dragon's spirit out in its full, terrifying glory, much to the wolfman's shock. But the wolfman completely ignores the giant dragon, lunging at the varsity jacket kid instead, and their claws meet in a brutal clash of raw, animalistic power. This new kid actually manages to block the monster's frenzied assault, his eyes now glowing with a cool blue energy as he prepares to counter. He promises to end this, declaring he will sever the parasite from its host for good. Explaining his special claw breaks the bond, and he is annoyed the Wolfman stole his cool one-liner. With a final, devastating strike, he slams the Wolfman with overwhelming force, looking completely unfazed as dark energy swirls around him after the attack. This blow sends the Wolfman staggering backward, his monstrous form starting to destabilize. Who can only stare in disbelief, unable to comprehend how he is being overpowered. In a flash of purple light, the parasitic spirit is literally ripped right out of his body, leaving the enraged wolf spirit howling as it is torn from its host. This new guy then blasts the disembodied spirit away in a massive arc of energy. And now that the dust has settled, Chinzai asks his dragon if it is gonna eat that priorities. His ancient spirit roommate just gives him the most disappointed stare in history. As the new kid walks off, the dragon declines the snack, saying he prefers human food anyway. So Chinzai and his mysterious new ally just casually walk out of the alley together, leaving the defeated flying squirrel to be met by another armored figure who asks if the mission failed. This armored guy basically asks if he is done screwing up since the mission clearly tanked. Licking his wounds, Flying Squirrel frantically orders his men to call for a Captain Boo. But this new guy seems confused, asking if Captain Boo was the one who sent them here. Then he gets right in Flying Squirrel's face, declaring the 9th District is off limits, a classic turf war. This aftermath of the fight leaves a bat-shaped crater in the pavement, which is pretty metal. We cut to a super ominous skyscraper because where else do shady government meetings happen? Inside, officials are discussing how a certain Captain Boo keeps hogging all the rogue symbiont cases. And her boss, the governor, lays on some slimy praise about her being a hero. You can practically smell the condescension. Captain Boo herself looks completely over this entire conversation, and frankly, so are we. On a call, the 9th District commander complains that her team was operating on his turf without permission. This governor just dismisses it, claiming the whole point was simply data collection on the target. Her rival scoffs that sending the whole security department after one kid seems a bit much, does not it? You can just see the silent simmering rage building behind Captain Boo's eyes, and her boss twists the knife, warning her to stay in her lane if she wants a future here. This other commander then reveals the governor gave her team a new weapon, which is clearly news to her. With a smug grin, the governor promises a promotion is coming, trying to smooth things over. She is clearly biting back some choice words, realizing she is just a pawn in their game. Done with the political theater, she announces she has work to do and just walks out on them. As she storms off down the hall, you can tell she is about to take matters into her own hands. Just then, her phone rings with an unknown number, perfect timing for more drama. This caller, Captain Boo, agrees to find who they are looking for, but only for double the price, a true professional. Meanwhile, Chinzai tries to blend into a noisy downtown crowd, looking like any other guy in a hoodie. Suddenly, a citywide emergency alert flashes on a phone showing a wanted list with his face on it. Someone taps his profile, pulling up all the juicy details for the world to see. And there it is, a full government file on Chinzai labeling him an active symbiont host. His dragon roommate pops up to gloat that he is famous now, to which our boy just deadpans. Thanks to you. A notification then pops up for something called the Yahello forum, catching his eye. Intrigued, he decides to check out what this mysterious online community is all about. He taps the app, diving headfirst into the local WeirdNet for answers. This forum is basically a message board for people dealing with hauntings and symbiont possessions. While Chinzai roasts the site's angry bird logo, the dragon explains it is a symbol of resilience. It is also a major intel hub, and they realize they cannot just hide forever if they want to survive. Our boy sets his new goal, find a shelter and figure out how to get this parasite out of him for good. Seeing a post about comms shutting down, he tries to power off his phone to avoid being tracked. But the dragon calls him an idiot since cell towers can still ping his location anyway. And right on cue, he is instantly surrounded by dozens of weapons aimed straight at his head. Armored soldiers have him cornered in the crosswalk, one of them literally saying jinxed before ordering the attack. Without a second to waste, Chinzai unleashes the dragon's dark power to defend himself. This spirit's energy erupts, transforming him into his full-blown demonic armor. With glowing yellow eyes, he is ready to throw down against this entire squad. This soldiers immediately open fire with some kind of weird, glowing red energy weapons. And in response, Chinzai's armor sprouts a volley of shadowy spikes from his back, which then launch forward like a swarm of deadly, high-speed spinning discs, instantly overwhelming the entire squad in a storm of golden impacts, leaving them all scattered on the pavement in a very undignified heap. But one last soldier, probably the squad leader, manages to get back on his feet, powering up a massive arm cannon that glows with some serious blue energy. He fires a huge beam of get deleted right at Chinzai's chest, but our boy just sidesteps it like he is dodging a rogue shopping cart. This blast carves a destructive path right past his head, barely missing him, and before the soldier can even react, Chinzai is already on him, grabbing the cannon. He then uses the guy as a human shield, turning the weapon back on its owner with a smug grin. And as the soldier gets vaporized, the dragon dryly notes they were more annoying than skilled. Elsewhere, we cut to a shadowy clock tower with steam rising from its lower levels, where a new guy in a hoodie explores an abandoned industrial building, confirming it is empty. He reassures his unseen companion that this hideout is so remote, it is like they have vanished from the world. This mysterious guide leads the way through a brightly lit doorway in the dark, derelict hall, then turns around with a dead serious look, declaring this is the end of the line. And his super-secret, on-the-run companion is wearing bright green dinosaur slippers. Suddenly, the guide senses a presence, asking if his companion can feel something moving around them. This guide's spirit form appears, saying the locals are just here to welcome their new guest, and his companion is totally lost, but the guide tells him to just read the magic words. So he recites this super edgy incantation about purifying his heart and banishing evil. And the moment he does, the entire room violently explodes with spiritual energy. Turns out that was the password to activate the shelter's barrier, sealing them inside for good. They step into an awesome steampunk workshop, leaving the new kid completely stunned. But the tour is interrupted by a bunch of blue ghosties phasing right through the shutters, which start bubbling up from the floor, surrounding his very fashionable dinosaur slippers. A whole swarm of these creepy cute blobs materializes, all focused on the new guy, who is instantly buried under a tidal wave of blue symbionts, totally helpless. This poor kid cannot even breathe, getting absolutely dogpiled by the welcome party. That is when a mysterious woman shows up, casually riding the spirit wave while smoking a cigarette, trapping him in a swirling vortex of ghosts, completely at her mercy. With a smirk, she says the spirits are thirsty for his body, but sorry, he is already taken. This kid finally spots her, demanding to know who the hell is messing with him. She just gives him a cool look, commenting on how rough it is to be a host these days. And then she completely faceplants, ruining her grand entrance in the most spectacular way possible. Now she is a blubbering mess, crying that her midair moves still need some serious practice. At that exact moment, Chinzai arrives, mistakes her for a government goon, and decides to attack. He launches himself at her while the guide desperately yells that she is not an enemy. After that spectacular faceplant, the woman gives Chinzai a look that could kill. But ignoring the guide's frantic warnings, Chinzai launches himself at the supposed ally, only to get instantly frozen in midair, completely paralyzed by some unseen force. Turns out she is holding him in place with her mind, surrounded by her little ghost army, and she calls him out for rampaging in her home, clearly unimpressed by his dramatic entrance. This guide frantically tries to smooth things over, telling the other kid this Sister Ching is their protector. With a casual wave, she dissolves the ghost swarm that was suffocating the new guy, leaving Dino Slipper Boy sprawling on the floor next to his very fashionable footwear. He gasps for air, having nearly been welcomed to death by a pile of blue goo, while Sister Ching turns to the guide's spirit, taunting him for running away from home. His spirit explains she is a 100-year-old arts master who can see them, so maybe do not piss her off. This guide tries to physically restrain his host, who looks ready to start another fight anyway. And we see why. The new kid's shadow reveals some seriously demonic-looking clawed feet. Eyeing him up, she comments on his tender vessel and decides he'd make a perfect servant. Her generous offer: he can stay if he becomes her personal chef and laundromat, out of respect. Our new hothead immediately refuses, not exactly keen on becoming an indentured servant. But she just smirks, basically asking if he thinks he is in any position to negotiate. This guide's spirit begs him to just be polite, reminding him they have absolutely no leverage here. So naturally, he lunges forward, grabs her, and calls her a shameless old hag to her face. He gloats that he has caught her, proving she is not so tough, while she just demands he let go. With his grip still tight on her arm, the new kid thinks he has actually won this standoff. But his spirit guide is having an absolute meltdown, knowing this was a terrible, terrible idea. And for good reason. Sister Ching just effortlessly flips him, slamming the poor guy into the floor. He is down but not out, glaring up from the ground with pure, unadulterated fury. As he screams his head off, she just looks down, completely bored by his little tantrum. She then delivers a devastating kick that sends him rocketing straight up toward the ceiling. And he is still calling her an old witch on the way up, which is just impressive commitment. A quick shot of her feet reveals she is hovering, proving this fight was over before it started. In an instant, she is in his face again, telling him it is time he understood his situation. She lays down the law: all hosts end up here and he better beg for mercy if he wants to stay. Desperate, the guide's spirit tries to play peacemaker, even asking the actual Chinzai for backup. But the hothead just powers up, yelling about how symbionts deserve respect, his eyes glowing gold. He unleashes his own power, forming a massive demonic claw to strike her down. But she just tells him to rot on his own and casually backhands him away like a fly. This sends him flying right out the clock tower window, screaming as he plummets to the streets below. Down on the ground, a patrol of armored guards looks up, completely unaware of the disaster incoming, and he lands directly on top of them, creating a very undignified human-robot dogpile. Sitting up in the wreckage, he complains about his bad luck running into a century-old lunatic. His guide immediately starts scolding him for offending the one person who could have actually helped them. Meanwhile, Chinzai realizes her palm strike was so powerful it could have separated a host from their symbiont. She is the real deal. Chinzai realizes this powerful woman might be his only hope of becoming human again. Down on the street, the hothead's guide insists Sister Ching is usually nice. Maybe she is just having an off day. With his eyes glowing, Chinzai tells the dragon he absolutely needs to earn her trust. But his grand plan immediately hits a snag when he realizes he lost his wallet in the last fight, and a quick pocket check reveals his entire net worth is now just a handful of loose change. He tries to make a call, only to be met with a dead signal. Turns out his identity has been completely restricted, locking him out of the network for good. This dragon tells him to quickly memorize some important numbers before the phone becomes a total brick, while government agents are already patrolling the city, clearly hunting for any symbiont hosts. Knowing the phone is basically a tracking device, Chinzai decides it is time to say a dramatic goodbye, so he gives it a heroic toss into the river, a truly cinematic farewell to his digital life. This phone makes a sad little splash, officially severing his last tie to the grid, sinking slowly into the murky depths, disappearing from the world forever, right past a school of very confused-looking fish. But then it lands on the bottom and starts ringing, because of course it does. Suddenly, some kind of armored fishman creature swims into frame, drawn by the sound, and this goggle-wearing merman snatches the phone, looking way too happy about his new find. Cutting to a totally different part of town, a sleazy guy leaves a host club looking for a good time, where a hostess with pink hair and cat ears greets him, calling him master with a wink, then starts shaking a magical drink for him as the guy looks absolutely mesmerized. She's trying to cast a spell on the drink but completely blanks on the magic words, looking totally spaced out, then plays it off as a joke, telling the sleazy client her magic fizzled out and she needs to try again. But inside, she is dying, forced to smile through creepy requests to pay off her college tuition debt. And she has to endure this guy's disgusting puckered face right up in hers just to survive, until she finally snaps and serves him his happy water by smashing the bottle right over his head. This aftermath is pure chaos, with her coworkers freaking out and a bouncer looking ready to murder her, who immediately starts screaming at her for her attitude while the other maids try to de-escalate. So she just storms out into the back alley, calling the whole lot of them a bunch of scum. A disembodied mouth starts yelling at her from her phone, demanding to know what the hell she is doing, and her boss threatens to ship her off to the unplanned zones if she does not go back and apologize to the client. But this maid, Heisha, just sees Boss Kyan as a juicy new mark and agrees to go back. Her eyes suddenly glowing with a dangerous purple light, looks like she's got a plan of her own. She walks back into the club, wreathed in a purple aura, ready to handle this her way, apologizing to the creep and offering him a special drink, but he just wants her to stay and play. And as he gets handsy, she calls him out for exactly where he thinks he is touching, then tells him his passion broke her spell before blowing a cloud of purple magic right in his face. This guy is immediately entranced, drooling and completely lost in the enchanting scent. So with her eyes now glowing gold, she tells him to come with her after her shift, and he just mindlessly agrees. Their destination is a swanky high-rise with a giant glowing pink heart on the front, where she is now carrying the unconscious client. As a mysterious figure notes they have been watching her for a while. Her symbiont fully manifests, a terrifying demonic form that tells the creep he messed with the wrong girl, and the guy absolutely loses it, screaming his head off in pure, unadulterated terror. So she just decks him with a single, brutal punch that sends him flying across the room, where he hits the floor with a pathetic thud, completely knocked out cold. Standing over his unconscious body, she looks totally badass, surrounded by her ghostly purple aura. After all that, she rifles through his wallet, only to be deeply unimpressed by the sad amount of cash inside. But then she finds his id. Turns out Boss Kyan is just some phony from the security bureau, leaving her completely annoyed that her big score was actually a total bust. Deciding to dig a little deeper, she pulls out a high-tech looking device, which immediately pulls up a bounty list featuring none other than Chinzai for 120,000 coins. Her eyes go wide. She actually recognizes him from college and is stunned by the massive price on his head. Meanwhile, our boy Chinzai is stuck at a payphone in some grimy back alley, complaining that he has called everyone he knows and not a single person would help him out. His entire net worth is now just a few coins. He is nervously flipping through his fingers, and with only one call left, his dragon spirit asks who he is possibly going to try next. Chinzai takes a long pause, desperately trying to think of anyone he might have forgotten, but he comes up with nothing, letting out a cold puff of air in total defeat. He starts dialing a number anyway, racking his brain for one last desperate hope. And that call starts ringing in an employee dormitory, interrupting someone washing dishes. It is Heisha who answers, completely confused by the unknown number, right as Chinzai makes his last-ditch call. On the other end of the line, Heisha answers the call, completely unaware of who is on the other side. And Chinzai, looking way too cheerful for a wanted fugitive, is just thrilled his last-ditch effort actually connected, which leaves Heisha totally stunned, remembering him from a college club and his missed call from earlier. And in a quick flashback, she recalls how they first met, before asking why his number is coming up as unknown. So Chinzai casually explains he dropped his phone in the river, as one does. But inside her head, Heisha is celebrating because her little fishing expedition for a big score is right on schedule. While his dragon spirit sarcastically notes their good relationship is a great foundation to build on, prompting Chinzai to scream at his own spirit to shut up, which is a totally normal thing to do on a phone call. And Heisha is understandably freaked out, but he quickly covers, saying he is on a payphone and has to be quick. Then he lays it all out. He is in serious danger and needs her help, as she internally fist pumps that her chance has arrived. Our boy awkwardly admits he has lost both his wallet and his phone, which is a fantastic start. So he cuts to the chase and asks to borrow some cash, admitting he literally cannot survive otherwise. He also explains he needs the money to win over an important person he just royally ticked off. And as Heisha listens, she realizes this is her ticket, but she needs to handle her own affairs first. Her plan is to meet up with him after she secures an advance payment from some other mark, because once she repays her debt, she can finally escape her miserable job for good. She agrees to help, but then throws a wrench in his plan by asking how exactly she is supposed to give money to a wanted man. But Chinzai promises not to involve her, suggesting a simple dead drop for the cash, even as his dragon senses a trap. Heisha sets the time and place for the drop-off, an abandoned warehouse in District 9 because that sounds safe. And just as she is about to say something else, the line goes dead, leaving her staring at her phone in confusion. With the call cut short, Chinzai slams the payphone down, completely out of time and options, while Heisha looks over the city, coolly noting that his survival is now entirely his own problem. As he trudges up a lonely staircase, his dragon asks the million-dollar question, why not just call his parents? A sad flashback shows his childhood, where his parents constantly criticized him instead of offering support. revealing he never felt he could ask for help even when he was hurt because of the guilt. And with tears welling in his eyes, he admits he just does not want to be a burden to them. This sun rises over a massive city bridge, marking the start of another wonderful day on the run, followed by Chinzai letting out a huge yawn because being a wanted man is apparently exhausting. He peeks down from his hiding spot, complaining about his new roommates in the homeless camp below, only to wake up tied and dangling by his feet. Turns out his new friends are not very friendly. One of the guys casually explains they're turning him in for the bounty, for survival, which has Chinzai absolutely seething, calling them disgusting as his eyes begin to glow. But the leader is completely unfazed, telling him the security bureau is already on its way. With his eyes now burning gold, Chinzai scoffs at the idea that a little rope could ever hold him, and with a flex of his power, he instantly shatters the ropes binding him, unleashing a blast of energy that sends the would-be bounty hunters flying in every direction. His dragon spirit manifests behind him as he calls this a morning stretch, ready for the day. Not ready to give up, the guys grab some pipes and sticks, deciding to fight a demigod for pocket change. One of them charges forward with a battle cry, swinging a wooden stick at a literal demon dragon, and the stick immediately shatters on impact, doing absolutely nothing, a truly brilliant plan. Chinzai's dragon form casually blocks the stick with its face, which immediately shatters on impact. Seeing their best weapon fail, the other guys decide a group rush is the next brilliant idea. This goes about as well as you'd expect, with him tearing through them in a blur of claws and fury. Their much larger leader then steps up with a sledgehammer, ready to show everyone how it is done. Without a moment's hesitation, Chinzai's demonic form charges forward to meet the challenge, and Sledgehammer meets Claw in a spectacular display of poor life choices. This hammer completely disintegrates, leaving the big guy stunned and very, very vulnerable. After some light interrogation, the now terrified survivors give him directions to the nearest port. With that sorted, Chinzai makes a superpowered leap out of there, leaving the guy to deal with his laundry situation. His dramatic escape is immediately interrupted by a little girl on the bridge pointing him out as a bad guy. Now spotted by security, he is forced to dive into the river to make another quick getaway, where he comes face to face with the goggle-wearing merman who found his phone earlier. This fishman actually helps him out, leading him to a secret manhole entrance to the sewers. His new friend advises him to stay low, but their quiet escape is cut short by a buzzing sound. A government drone comes zipping around the corner, its red scanner sweeping the grimy tunnel. Chinzai quickly reverts to his human form as his dragon spirit identifies the security bureau tech. His spirit notes the drone is a new model, meaning the bureau is getting smarter about hunting them. They decide to head back to the surface, since staying human is safer and conserves energy. Chinzai is surprised to learn his power actually has a limit, visualized as a glowing battery icon. Turns out he and the dragon share an energy pool, which is why he has not felt hungry this whole time. Chinzai asks if spirits just eat each other, which is a totally normal question to ask your inner demon. His dragon explains that weak spirits are basically cosmic plankton trying to find a human host to level up. And if they fail, they get gobbled up by bigger, meaner spirits. It is a tough afterlife out there. This spirit then gets all philosophical, comparing it to human society, which is a pretty sick burn on capitalism, even likening finding a host to finding a soulmate, complete with a cheesy romance novel cover. But Chinzai is absolutely disgusted by the idea of being partners with a monster. He just wants his old life back. This dragon then reminds him how he saved it from a flying squirrel heteromorph, a moment of true heroism, apparently, which kicks off a flashback to him doom-scrolling forums about the security bureau's shady practices, where he watches a horrifying testimony from an old man who was tortured by their machines, and is now dying from septicemia after they forcibly separated him from his spirit. This comment section is a total war zone, with people either defending heteromorphs or telling them to get out of the city, leaving a younger Chinzai wondering if moving there is such a great idea, after he already bought the ticket. But after a moment of deep, soul-searching contemplation, he leans back like, whatever. Because Chihuang City is a lawless enclave where humans and heteromorphs coexist, and most importantly, the pay is double, which settles the debate real quick. This old man on the video gives his final warning: do not trust the bureau, just learn to live with your demon roommate. And back in the present, Chinzai arrives at a desolate wasteland called Miracle Park to pick up Heisha's package, which looks less like a park and more like the aftermath of a god-level temper tantrum. So he decides to find a high point to scout the area instead of wandering into a potential ambush, and spots a giant shattered statue with some kind of inscription on it. He blows the dust off the statue's base, revealing some kind of ancient inscription, which identifies the ruin as a monument to the mother goddess of creation, thousands of years old. His spirit explains that humans desecrating the site caused the statue to fall, triggering the rift event. And Chinzai, our ever-informed protagonist, has absolutely no idea what that is. Just hearing the word makes the broken statue begin to glow with a strange, powerful energy. This triggers a horrifying vision of a tear in reality, a gift to another world packed with monsters. This psychic feedback slams into Chinzai, causing him to clutch his head in absolute agony, and both he and his spirit are screaming as forgotten memories come flooding back. Suddenly, he is remembering a past life, a time when he was a monster in some primordial wasteland. A memory that kicks off with a massive battle between two giant beasts blasting the heck out of each other. All around them, a chaotic menagerie of creatures are just tearing each other apart in a total free-for-all. And he finds himself in the body of a small, horned boar demon, as his spirit reveals this was his true form. A white wolf creature immediately attacks him, kicking off a territorial battle for dominance. while his spirit screams at him to use his claws and fight back, a suggestion he is not thrilled about. He barely manages to block the attack, with the wolf immediately mocking his totally unimpressive claws, but despite the insults, the two are locked in a surprisingly fierce clash of flashing claws and pure aggression. They are at a complete stalemate, headbutting each other while a crowd of other monsters watches the show. At that exact moment, the sky cracks open with lightning as a massive rift tears through reality above them. This rift starts sucking all the creatures into its vortex, a cosmic vacuum cleaner with no off switch. And unable to hold on, they are all pulled into the swirling chaos, ending the memory. This dragon's memory continues, explaining how ancient beasts were summoned to punish humans for stealing divine stuff. This intervention went great, with the beasts immediately stomping the locals into a fine paste. Suddenly, the vision shifts, and Chinzai is now a determined mining worker in the past, ready to prove himself. His coworker is screaming at him to run, a very sensible suggestion he seems to be ignoring. And yeah, a giant foot is about to introduce him to the concept of being a human-shaped stain, which it does with a very unceremonious splat, ending that particular career path. This whole divine punishment thing quickly devolved into an all-out war that leveled entire cities. A weary guardian admits they drove off the thieves but failed to protect the divine resources anyway, while the actual thieves just drive off with the loot, making the whole bloody conflict pointless. To make matters worse, the rift's home slammed shut, trapping all the beasts in the human world. They were permanently locked out, stranded in a world that could not sustain their physical forms. Back with the guardian, he collapses among the ruins, accepting his life is now over. From the miner's broken body, his life force begins to leak out into the air, and his spirit pops out, complaining he did not even get a chance to shine, a very on-brand exit. That newly freed energy then gets absorbed by the other stranded beasts nearby. It is revealed all the ancient beasts had to become spirits just to survive in this new world. Unable to adapt, the dragon confirms they all ditched their physical forms just to exist. As the psychic memory blast hits him full force, his spirit form screams in agony. He is reliving every traumatic second of this ancient war, and it is not a good time. Finally, the vision ends, dropping him back into the present, gasping for air by the broken statue. This dragon explains they were all locked in a dark space until a massive explosion set them free. It tried possessing a few people and even a dog, but they all had a pretty violent allergic reaction. Then it met a guy named Kingjai, who found it weakened and offered it a partnership. Chinzai asks why the security bureau is after them, and the dragon clarifies they are hunting all asterisk host spirits. This whole mess was apparently ordered by a shadowy figure called King Tian, who wanted the goddess dead. Our boy actually recognizes that name from his doomscrolling. The guy is the secret ruler of Crimson Emperor City. As they walk, the spirit casually drops that this whole area is built on top of a gate to another realm. This dragon is absolutely furious, realizing its old buddy Kingjai never bothered to mention that little detail. With trust issues now officially on the table, Chinzai decides to just focus on what is in front of him, and he finally spots their goal in the distance, Bayangport, their ticket out of the city. Suddenly, we are in some kind of psychic battle, with Chinzai trapped in an impossible dilemma. A blonde agent taunts him with a weird syringe, asking why he'd trust a monster over the Bureau's power. In this mental void, ghostly figures try to tear his dragon away while the spirit promises to support his choice. This separation looks absolutely agonizing, with Chinzai screaming as the agent prepares her device. But just as she moves in, Heisha slides in out of nowhere, yelling for them to stop. She screams at Chinzai to snap out of it, trying to break him free from the mental assault. Her voice reaches him in the darkness, but he is refusing to transform back into his human form. Instead, he reaches for his dragon, vowing they will work together and not let anyone take them. This blonde agent just scoffs that it is too late, lunging forward with her spirit-killing gadget. And Chinzai is hit with a blast of energy, caught in a vortex of black and gold lightning. That energy blast sends the blonde agent flying, her little spirit-killing syringe spinning through the air. From Chinzai's point of view, the entire enemy squad is just getting tossed around like ragdolls. She is completely floored by this sudden turn of events, realizing her plan just spectacularly failed. At the same time, one of the armored goons grabs Heisha, deciding a hostage is always a good backup plan. Chinzai, now in a sleek new demonic form, vows he is not letting anyone take his spirit partner. This complete transformation leaves the agent absolutely speechless. This was not in the mission briefing. His dragon explains this new power is Crescendance, a second stage awakening born from their perfect bond. He can feel the power coursing through him, now able to directly channel the dragon's energy at will. This agent grits her teeth, finally understanding that her target just evolved mid-battle. In a shocking twist, Heisha confesses she is the informant who sold him out to buy her own freedom. This agent mocks their interesting relationship, while Heisha complains her powers are useless on these robots. Our boy is still getting used to the new digs, trying to figure out what this upgraded body can actually do. Seeing her advantage slip away, the agent screams for her remaining goons to take him down immediately. He responds by instantly closing the distance, appearing right in front of the firing squad. They unleash a massive volley of energy blasts, hoping to overwhelm him with sheer firepower. But he just weaves through the barrage with blinding speed, the attacks hitting nothing but air. Even Heisha is shocked by his agility, yelling a warning that one hit from those cannons will paralyze him. One of the armored guys pulls out a new toy, a small black sphere held in a mechanical claw. That same robot grabs Heisha again, slapping a gag on her to shut her up for good. Ignoring the hostage situation for a sec, Chinzai gracefully vaults over the other goon with style. In his new demon form, Chinzai absolutely dismantles one of the armored goons with a flurry of precise strikes, and then he unleashes a massive blast of pure energy right from his arm, which erupts outwards in a shockwave, showing off his new area of effect capabilities. This goon holding Heisha can only stare as his gun smokes, completely stunned by the turn of events. Our boy's new armor plating is apparently tough as an iron wall, shrugging off any damage they throw at him. Seeing her entire plan go up in smoke, the blonde agent screams for everyone to use maximum firepower. Meanwhile, a completely different squad is just unloading on a random warehouse somewhere else in the city, and the building explodes in a tidal wave of water and energy, hinting at a much bigger conflict. Watching all this from a rooftop is some new guy casually carrying a giant anchor, as one does. This creepy spectator seems to be thoroughly enjoying the chaos unfolding below him. He reports to his boss that he has sent the coordinates, adding he is tempted to join the show himself. On the other end of the line, a new villain orders his men to capture Chinzai's spirit and kill everyone else. This boss is furious that this is happening in his territory and decides it is time to handle it personally. Back at the port, some kind of dark, sludge-like energy begins to manifest on the battlefield, leaving the blonde agent completely bewildered by whatever the hell is happening now. Heisha, still gagged, can only watch in terror as the situation spirals further out of her control. But Chinzai is feeling himself, confidently stating he is finally getting the hang of this new power. With a smirk, he declares that it is his turn to go on the offensive, squaring up against the goon who is now wielding some kind of red crystal weapon, and the robot lunges forward, ready to smash him with a massive mechanical fist. This remaining goons decide to rush him all at once, a classic strength in numbers fallacy. But Chinzai's eyes are just glowing with pure, unadulterated focus, ready for the brawl. All while the main hostage-taker just stands there with Heisha, who is desperately trying to signal for help. Our boy is not having it, vowing they are absolutely not getting away with his friend. He effortlessly parries their attacks, blocking that red crystal weapon with a slash of his own energy. And then another goon brings out a new toy, a good old-fashioned spiked mace on a chain, which he swings with all the grace of a malfunctioning construction crane. And Chinzai just casually catches the chain, completely unimpressed by the whole display. With him momentarily tied up, the others demand his surrender, a suggestion he seems to find hilarious. He easily holds back two of them at once, turning their own weapons against them in a show of pure strength. Using their momentum, he yanks one of the goons right off his feet for a little trip, and promptly introduces his face to the concrete floor, much to the hostage-taker's horror. A different goon opens fire with a barrage of energy blasts, hoping to finally land a hit. Except he aimed directly at his buddy holding Heisha, a truly brilliant tactical move. This blonde agent has to dive in and save her own minion from the friendly fire, and she is absolutely furious that this outsider is making her look bad in her own territory. She lands a powerful punch right to Chinzai's head, putting all her force into the blow. This follow-up kick connects with a massive impact, but he just digs in and takes it. Heisha can only watch, gagged and horrified, as the fight gets even more out of hand, and Chinzai is just impressed, noting her leg strength is actually pretty incredible. Chinzai immediately clocks that this agent is hiding her real strength, but her smug attitude is already grating. She tries to play the reasonable one, telling him to stand down because violence will not solve anything. Pointing to the hostage, she tries a little guilt trip, but he just realizes she is stalling for time. And right on cue, one of the armored goons he just flattened starts to twitch back to life. This robot clutches its head, apparently rebooting from its very brief trip to the scrap heap. Our boy realizes with dawning horror that his defeated enemies are just getting back up for round 2. Surrounded again, he declares he is not letting them take Heisha, mostly because she still owes him for the betrayal. He then gives the agent some friendly advice to back off, warning her that he is not the guy to mess with. She just scoffs that his spirit has scrambled his brain and that she is actually trying to help him. Her sales pitch continues, explaining he is basically a caged animal with no hope of escape on his own. Then she drops the real reason, capturing him as her ticket to a big promotion, a classic career move. This agent offers him a spot on her team once she is in charge, a very generous offer from his would-be captor. With a smug grin, she asks him to join her, totally confident he will take the deal. Chinzai's deadpan stare is the only answer she gets, and it is definitely not a yes. Meanwhile, Heisha is mentally screaming at him not to fall for it, insisting the agent is just a glory hound. She wishes he could see the poor souls in the slums who were tricked by the exact same empty promises. Our boy finally speaks, repeating the word cooperate like it is something he just scraped off his shoe. Getting impatient, the agent demands his final decision, clearly not used to being kept waiting. And Chinzai gives his answer. He is not interested in working with a bunch of self-righteous hypocrites. That rejection lands like a ton of bricks, leaving her completely speechless for the first time. Her job offer having been thoroughly rejected, the agent just screams for her minions to capture him. This remaining goons charge in with their spiked maces, but Chinzai looks completely unimpressed. But before they can connect, the anchor-wielding weirdo from the rooftop literally crashes the party. This new guy announces that Chinzai is his prey, telling all the small fry to get out of his way. His landing creates a massive shockwave, scattering the Bureau's entire squad like bowling pins. Chinzai has to dig in, catching the enormous anchor just before it completely flattens him. Up close, this new challenger has a grin that says he enjoys his job a little too much. He slams the anchor down with terrifying force, and our boy barely manages to block the hit. This sheer impact sends Chinzai flying backwards, smashing clean through a stack of crates. Heisha can only watch in absolute terror, trying to scream his name through her gag. This blonde agent is just standing there dumbfounded, wondering who the hell just hijacked her promotion. That anchor gets shoved right in her face, a pretty clear sign to mind her own business. And to prove his point, the guy casually backhands one of her armored goons into a wall. He politely informs Captain Bufeng that Chinzai is his target and anyone who interferes will be removed. She starts to connect the dots, realizing this guy is probably way above her pay grade. Meanwhile, Chinzai is already back in the fight, clashing with the anchorman in a shower of sparks. This villain taunts him about his claws while the dragon spirit frantically warns him to watch his right side. It is too late, he takes a brutal punch to the head, staggering from the sheer force of the blow. This new guy follows up immediately, bringing his anchor down in a devastating overhead swing. He gloats that he has been tracking Chinzai all over the district, and now it is finally time to collect. Chinzai somehow manages to block the anchor with his claws, the sheer force of it cracking the ground. Gritting his teeth, our boy demands to know who the hell this new challenger is. This anchorman just swings again, launching Chinzai backwards with another brutal hit. This psycho introduces himself as a hunter sent by a Lord Zhang, here to kill Chinzai and extract his valuable spirit. He then adds that maybe he will just eat the spirit instead, a totally normal and well-adjusted thing to say. That name clicks for Chinzai, who realizes this lunatic is from the infamous Hunter Guild. As the two clash, the agent's subordinate asks for orders, but she is just watching the chaos unfold. This hunter gives a little backstory on his guild. They are basically trained killing machines who hunt down targets for cash. Captain Bufeng is having a full-on internal meltdown, realizing her shot at becoming the District 11 commander is being stolen. We get a tragic backstory drop. She is from the fallen Rakshasa family, which lost everything when her father defied the organization. She is absolutely determined to become the new commander to restore her family's honor, no matter what. Back in the present, the two combatants are just a blur, trading blows at blinding speeds. Heisha is still stuck as a hostage, and the agent notes that with her in their hands, Chinzai cannot just run away. Her new strategy is to let the two guys wear each other down, planning to strike when they are both exhausted. This hunter is clearly enjoying this, laughing maniacally as he swings his anchor in a huge, glowing arc. In response, Chinzai becomes a whirlwind of purple energy, dodging and weaving through the attack. This whole area erupts in a storm of yellow and purple energy as their high-speed battle rages on. It looks like the hunter finally connects with a solid blow, making Chinzai grunt in pain. Seeing an opening, the hunter swings his anchor upwards to catch Chinzai right out of the air. And that hit sends our boy flying, launching him straight through the air and onto a nearby rooftop. Chinzai makes a tactical retreat to a lower rooftop, but the anchorman is right behind him. This psycho is actually disappointed, complaining that our boy is running off before he has had his fun. He perches on a shipping container like a gargoyle, taunting that there is nowhere left to hide. But our boy is not hiding at all, he's got a plan, and that look is pure calculated focus. Calling him a weakling, the hunter gives chase, completely misreading the entire situation. Turns out, Chinzai was just repositioning to get a clear view of Heisha and the agent's squad below. This agent finally spots him perched on a container right above them, looking ready to strike. Realizing his true target is the hostage, she screams for her men to watch their backs. But it is way too late as Chinzai drops down in a blur of motion, slicing clean through the hostage-taker's arm to grab Heisha in one smooth, epic move. Heisha is completely stunned to be rescued, while Chinzai just looks like this is all in a day's work. Just then, the hunter crashes the party again, gleefully announcing that he has found them. Now Chinzai is on the run with Heisha, caught between the hunter and the agent's remaining goons. This goons immediately start blasting away, completely ignoring that Heisha is right in the line of fire. Captain Bufeng absolutely loses it, screaming at her own squad to cease fire immediately. This hunter, however, reminds them this is what happens when you get in his way, smashing his anchor right through one of the armored goons without a second thought. And then he follows up with a massive swing that takes out another one of her men. She can only watch in horror as a cracked helmet clatters to the ground, her team getting dismantled. Realizing the hunter is just a mindless machine, she decides it is time to change his system personally. Furious, Captain Bufeng calls the anchorman an aberrant hunter and charges in with her batons. From behind his glowing goggles, the hunter just watches her approach, completely unimpressed. She unleashes a furious flurry of strikes, putting everything she has into the attack, but he just deflects every single hit with his anchor shaft, barely even moving. Her determined face is just a tiny, desperate reflection in his soulless-looking eyewear. A solid thwack finally connects with his shoulder, but it might as well have been a love tap. This hunter just grunts, looking more annoyed that she is wasting his time than actually hurt. With zero effort, he snatches one of her batons right out of the air. Bufeng uses the momentum for a leaping overhead strike, refusing to back down, and he just stops her cold with one hand like he is catching a baseball. Her expression is pure shock, finally registering the insane power gap between them. He follows up with a swift kick right to her head, clearly done playing around. She manages to dodge and flip away, using his own anchor as a vaulting pole. Landing a short distance away, she is clearly feeling the strain of this one-sided beatdown. Another desperate strike is blocked, and she is audibly grunting from the sheer force of it. Using the rebound, she pivots to land safely, but her attack was a total failure. This hunter actually compliments her skill, adding it is a shame she is not his real target. His attention immediately shifts, saying he can already smell his actual prey. Chinzai realizing he is about to leave, Bufeng screams at her remaining squad to go after him. Meanwhile, Heisha is having a guilt trip, but Chinzai just tells her to focus on their escape. As they are running, Chinzai shoves a giant spiked club at Heisha for self-defense, casually. She just stares at it, realizing this weapon was probably for him before he went full Super Saiyan. He is already bolting for an exit, leaving her to awkwardly jog with her new oversized accessory. But a familiar tapping sound echoes through the alley. Their psycho hunter is right behind them. His senses are completely locked on, targeting Chinzai with pinpoint terrifying accuracy. Our boy stops dead in his tracks, telling Heisha to get clear because the party crasher has arrived. And down comes Anchorman from above, looking way too excited to start round 2. He slams into the ground with enough force to shatter the concrete, then immediately follows up with a brutal kick that sends Chinzai flying into a container. Inside his head, the dragon spirit is geeking out that they have reached cognitive resonance, which is great timing. This spirit gives him a whole power-up speech while he is actively getting his face pummeled. Finally taking the hint, Chinzai focuses his energy, his purple aura flaring intensely. He unleashes a massive blast of his own, actually managing to knock the hunter back for once. From the sidelines, Heisha is just stunned, whispering about how insanely strong he is. Captain Bufeng sees her chance, deciding Heisha will make a perfect bargaining chip for Chinzai's spirit. With her promotion back in her sights, she coldly orders her remaining goon to seize the girl. But Heisha stands her ground, telling the agent not to underestimate her, a bold move. She gives herself a quick pep talk, her eyes suddenly glowing with a strange new power. Purple energy starts crackling around her legs, which is definitely not something she could do 5 minutes ago. Bufeng can only stare in shock as Heisha prepares to fight, clearly no longer just a helpless hostage. Captain Bufeng is completely baffled by this development, wondering if Heisha is a sorcerer. But her tactical brain kicks in, realizing this cloning ability is not a sorcerer's skill. As her goons restrain Heisha, the girl just calmly informs them they have got the wrong idea. A voice in her head urges her to focus, to tap into that same state she was in before. That is when the agent connects the dots, realizing Heisha is an aberrant too. A sudden flashback to being experimented on makes everything click, and she knows what to do. Bufeng is practically drooling, thinking this new spirit is a fine consolation prize to secure her promotion. With a surge of power, Heisha swings her massive spiked club at the goon holding her. Suddenly, the whole area is swarming with glowing Heisha clones, leaving the squad completely stunned. This Heisha army collectively informs the agent that her mission is officially over. Bufeng just scoffs, warning her that Chinzai is a little too busy to be her hero right now. And she is not wrong, our boy is dodging a haymaker from some new mustachioed brawler. Chinzai immediately counters, planting a supercharged fist right into the guy's jaw. That impact sends the brawler flying across the warehouse like a pinball. His dragon spirit explains this is his new sensory ability at work as he dodges a cat-like fighter. Meanwhile, the first guy is already back up, casually hoisting a shipping container to crush him with. This spirit clarifies the power-up. It is basically combat precognition, letting him predict and counter attacks. Using that new spider sense, he effortlessly ducks under another wild swing from the mustachioed goon. He follows up with a devastating counterpunch that just caves the guy's chest in. Chinzai clenches his fist, a glowing red sigil on his finger pulsing with raw power. Chinzai unleashes a brutal, high-speed flurry, completely overwhelming the mustachioed brawler. This brawler's goggles shatter as he howls in pain from the absolute beatdown. With a furious roar, Chinzai demands an end to all this pointless bloodshed. A massive spinning claw attack follows, sending the goon absolutely flying. He crashes hard into a pile of crates, kicking up a huge cloud of dust. Smugly, Chinzai informs him that surprise, he's got more tricks than just his claws. Defeated, the hunter admits he underestimated a rookie who has reached cognitive resonance. Then he drops a bombshell. Everyone there is about to die, which is a confusing threat. A sinister laugh echoes as yellow energy starts crackling all over the hunter's body. Turns out the Hunter Guild has a final rule: if you're about to lose, you take your target with you. Meanwhile, Heisha and her clone army are busy dismantling what is left of Bufeng's squad. Our boy immediately spots the living bomb and makes a tactical leap to safety. This hunter just screams that he will not get away, fully committed to his self-destruct sequence. From a high vantage point, he yells a warning as the explosion is about to engulf Heisha. All he can do is watch as the brawler turns into a supercharged ball of explosive energy. In a blur, he swoops in to grab Heisha just as she calls him Lucas. This entire dock erupts in a massive fiery explosion, a real party ender. From a safe distance, two figures watch the smoke billow from the blast zone. A new commander coolly reports Captain Boo's heroic death, already spinning the narrative. His new orders are to find Lucas Chin, dead or alive, to fulfill his own vision. This dust finally starts to settle after that absolutely insane self-destruct maneuver. Heisha and some other girl are on the ground, somehow alive but definitely not having a good time. Turns out Chinzai is holding up a massive slab of concrete, telling them to hurry before he drops it. Then we hard cut to some grimdark dungeon where a blindfolded man is chained up high. This guy is ranting about how his captors gouged out his eyes to force information out of him. A woman in a suit casually decides to sacrifice him to some entity called Harrow God, and the prisoner is just horrified, realizing this god-tier being has actually come to their world. Right on cue, a massive glowing tentacle slithers out of the darkness. It immediately starts crushing his cage, with him screaming bloody murder inside. And there it is, a full-blown Lovecraftian horror, with the suit lady just watching like it is a movie. A new silver-haired man appears, explaining this god was sealed here after a mission went south. Meanwhile, the blindfolded prisoner is getting absolutely shredded by dark, spiky energy. A blue dragon spirit is ripped right out of his body as he begs to serve the monster. Even our silver-haired pretty boy is not safe, getting swarmed by shadowy tendrils. This cosmic horror is just drooling over the spirit, calling it a delicious-looking snack. But the silver-haired man is a total fanatic, begging his dark god for guidance. His prayer seems to work because now there are two of these blue dragon spirits. They immediately jump in to defend their master from the monster god's assault. It is a full-on Spiriton monster brawl with the silver-haired guy caught in the middle. This monster's eye focuses, sensing another aberrant has powered up and that Chinzai's spirit is special. This monster god Ao explains that Chinzai's spirit was once a subordinate who got some power and then ghosted him. But now that Chinzai has achieved resonance, he is the new hope for all aberrants. Ao orders his two blue dragon spirits to protect the other hosts and stop the enemy's plan. Because if this giant cosmic egg hatches, it is game over for humanity and hello to a new world order. Back in the rubble, Chinzai helps a new pink-haired girl who apologizes for getting him involved. Heisha immediately gets in her face, demanding she show some gratitude for the guy who just saved them. This pink-haired girl just explains he is exhausted from the fight and gently helps him sit down. Inside his head, Chinzai's dragon spirit suddenly hears another voice and realizes Heisha has a spirit too. Her spirit introduces itself as a nine-tailed fox, having a little psychic meet and greet with the dragon. A quick flashback reveals their clans used to fight, and the fox's stealth powers are why the dragon never sensed it. Using its power, the fox spirit wraps Chinzai in a healing aura, which is basically a supernatural spa day. He is instantly back to 100%, which completely blows the mind of Bu Feng's replacement agent. She just stares, probably realizing her entire mission has gone completely off the rails. Deciding this is way above her pay grade, she makes the smart call to retreat and report back. But just then, a new swordsman and his personal army show up to ruin everyone's day. This guy draws his blade, which crackles with a very unfriendly-looking blue energy. Chinzai's combat precognition immediately kicks in, targeting the new arrival as a major threat. Meanwhile, the monster god Ao monologues about a special blade forged over decades inside a host. It is a legendary spirit-killing weapon that was lost after a failed extermination mission, and apparently it was wielded by some other rogue spirit who took the sword and vanished. This monster god Ao lectures some tiny spirits, calling them morons for serving their master. In a flashback, his silver-haired host dismisses an opponent, saying his human is just an impulsive kid. Back in the psychic dungeon, the fanatic asks his tentacle god for guidance, always a solid career move. Meanwhile, the new swordsman remembers betraying his own master to steal this spirit-killing blade. His former master is seen crawling through a volcano, lamenting that he just stole the world's last hope. Back in the present, this guy confronts Chinzai, demanding he return the spirit blade to its rightful owner. Chinzai, fully armored up, just wants to know who the hell this new party crasher is. This swordsman's answer is to scream that he is here to kill him, bringing his sword down. But our boy just sidesteps the attack like it is nothing, thanks to that new combat precognition. This swordsman is completely stunned by his speed, his whole I am the main character vibe taking a hit. Chinzai's purple claws are already prepped for a vicious counterattack. He lands a brutal slash right across the guy's chest, sending sparks flying everywhere. This swordsman stumbles back, but Chinzai is just getting warmed up, looking absolutely furious. With his glowing blue sword at the ready, the swordsman prepares for round 2. They erupt into a high-speed clash, purple claws meeting the legendary blue blade in a flurry. This swordsman mocks Chinzai's technique, calling him a sloppy monkey who only knows brute force. Our boy fires back that style points do not matter when you are trying to end a fight fast. He follows that up by rocketing forward in a blur of purple energy for another attack. This swordsman just smirks, totally unfazed as Chinzai closes the distance for the strike. Even with a claw about to rearrange his face, the guy's still got a smug look going. This swordsman just casually parries Chinzai's claw with his blade, not even breaking a sweat. Actually, scratch that, he caught the full force attack with his bare hand, which is just disrespectful. Our boy is just frozen, completely unable to process how his ultimate attack was just shut down. In a flash, the swordsman is already behind him, winding up a sword strike as Chinzai's danger sense screams. A massive blue energy wave erupts from the blade, sending everyone absolutely flying across the rubble. This guy just looks down at the chaos he created with the most bored expression imaginable. He even licks a bit of blood off his finger, smirking like this is the best day of his life. Standing over a downed Chinzai, he announces that if he cannot have the spirit, he will just kill the host. Chinzai's armor is cracked and sparking, and he realizes with horror that it is not regenerating. His dragon spirit confirms his life force is draining. He has to end this fight and revert to human form now. This swordsman helpfully explains his blade is a legendary spirit killer, designed to erase both of them from existence. Chinzai is absolutely losing his mind, yelling at his spirit for not giving him a heads up about this little detail. But his combat precognition flares up again, warning him of another imminent attack. Meanwhile, Heisha is trying to fend off the swordsman's goon squad, telling them to back off. And because things were not complicated enough, a new blonde commander arrives with her own armored backup. She gives a simple, chilling order to her troops, take them all out. In a shocking twist, she immediately attacks one of the swordsman's own soldiers, not Chinzai's crew. She demands to know why their targets are these two specific aberrants, clearly on a different mission. Using the sudden infighting as a distraction, Chinzai lands a solid kick on a goon menacing Heisha. He quickly checks on the pink-haired girl, who claims she is fine even though she is obviously hurt. This swordsman tells the new blonde commander to back off, accusing her of overstepping her authority. He basically threatens to clean house, lumping her in with the monsters for not playing by his rules. His legendary spirit-killing blade glows with power, ready to make good on that threat. This blonde commander is stunned, recognizing the weapon and wondering how the hell he has it. A quick flashback shows her master wielding it before he vanished on a secret mission 5 years ago. Meanwhile, the pink-haired girl's healing fails against the curse, and Chinzai tells her to save her strength. Inside, the fox spirit confirms this is no normal wound and they will need special help to fix it. Losing her cool, the commander screams at him, demanding to know where he got her master's sword. This swordsman smirks, saying her master died stopping a plan and he was just following orders, a likely story. A horrifying memory flashes, he did not just find the sword, he killed her master to get it. Absolutely enraged, she calls him out as a traitor, demanding to know what his real endgame is. With a chilling smile, he cryptically replies that his goal is exactly the same as hers. Senior sister. That sister comment throws her, and she asks if her master is alive, which actually shocks him. She then snaps, grabbing a very confused Chinzai and shaking him while screaming for her master's location. Our boy just makes a face, trying to explain it was all a misunderstanding and she needs to chill out. This swordsman flashes back to betraying his master, who was holding flowers, unable to believe she survived. Chinzai's dragon spirit just laughs, boasting that someone as strong as this Ching would not go down that easily. Putting it all together, Chinzai points an accusing claw at the swordsman, calling him trash for his betrayal. Blue lightning erupts from the spirit blade as our boy's eyes flare with pure, unadulterated rage. And the traitor lunges, bringing the spirit-killing sword down on a vulnerable Chinzai. Heisha rushes to Chinzai's side, absolutely panicked after he took that spirit-killing sword to the chest. This wound is not just bleeding, it is gushing some kind of dark, cursed energy, which is never a good sign. Our boy is clutching the injury, admitting through gritted teeth that this hurts on a whole other level. Meanwhile, the traitor swordsman gloats that his blade kills both host and spirit, and death is getting closer. While Heisha tries her healing magic, the blonde commander just watches, probably wondering if it'll even work. Seeing his opening, the swordsman screams at his troops to take advantage and wipe them all out now. Chinzai and Heisha are immediately surrounded, forced to stand back-to-back against a whole squad of goons. A flurry of blades comes slicing down, looking to turn our heroes into mincemeat. But the blonde commander intercepts with a flying kick, saving them and making the traitor look very annoyed. Right on cue, her own armored soldiers drop from the sky to even the odds. She plants herself right in front of the injured duo, officially picking a side in this chaotic mess. With a determined stomp, she makes it crystal clear that she is not backing down from this fight. She is absolutely seething, screaming at the traitor for his blatant insubordination and audacity. This whole battlefield just erupts as the two factions of soldiers start clashing all over the ruins. Chinzai tries to thank her for the assist, but she tells him to save it, they have got bigger problems. She places a hand on his chest, giving him a quick energy boost that is more of a patch-up than a real heal. Then she gets right in his face, demanding her master's location, and he smartly leverages that for an escape plan. Seeing she has no other choice, the commander reluctantly agrees to their temporary alliance. Just then, a goon tries a sneak attack on a distracted Chinzai, with Heisha yelling a warning. But our boy, even while cursed, spins into a brutal kick, proving he is far from out of this fight. Even with the curse slowing him down, Chinzai lands a brutal kick on another soldier. He roars, ready to tear through the rest of this goon squad single-handedly. Meanwhile, the blonde commander is a whirlwind of motion, deflecting attacks from the traitor's soldiers. This two of them are now fighting back-to-back, a temporary alliance born out of pure desperation. Surrounded on all sides, the trio prepares for an all-out brawl against overwhelming odds. This traitor just smirks, announcing he is done playing games and it is time for them all to die. Chinzai lays out the plan. He will be the decoy to draw the traitor away while the girls make a run for it. He gives them a rendezvous point, promising he will catch up, a line that has a 100% failure rate in these situations. This commander immediately calls him out, pointing out that his plan is basically just a suicide run. With a scream, the traitor lunges straight for Chinzai, his spirit-killing blade crackling with energy. Our boy shoves both girls out of the way, taking the full brunt of the attack himself. That cursed blade comes down in a massive, glowing arc aimed right at Chinzai's head. But Chinzai manages to block the spirit killer with his armored arm, the impact kicking up a huge cloud of dust. Seeing him pinned, the traitor orders his goons to swarm in and finish the job for him. This whole chaotic battle is just tearing the ruined city apart even more. Pinned under the blade, Chinzai grits his teeth, knowing he just has to buy time for the others to escape. Heisha and the commander are a blur of action, fighting their way through the surrounding soldiers. But that cursed wound is seriously slowing him down, and he yells at them to get a move on. He finally shoves the traitor off and makes a break for it, kicking up rubble in a mad dash. His escape lasts all of 2 seconds before another one of the traitor's goons intercepts him with a massive blade. Pinned under a massive blade, Chinzai struggles to hold his ground against the goon. He erupts into a flurry of motion, deflecting attacks while still feeling that curse's drain. From the sidelines, the commander yells for him to use his close-range advantage, but he cannot even get near. This traitor just screams at his senior sister for talking too much, winding up for another strike. And now our boy is back to clashing with the main event, blocking that spirit killer with everything he has got. Meanwhile, Heisha and the commander are desperately fending off their own squad of armored goons. Just as she warns about their speed, one of them grabs her from behind in a chokehold. But the commander is right there, landing a solid blow to the goon's head to free her. With an opening made, she yells for them to follow her, leading the charge through the enemy ranks. Seeing his plan work, Chinzai lets out a triumphant grin which only infuriates the traitor. This traitor finally puts it together. This whole fight was just a decoy to let the girls escape. Our boy smugly confirms it, saying he just needed to draw all the attention to himself. While making their escape, the commander learns Heisha's healing powers are completely tapped out. They are sprinting for a getaway vehicle, but one of the traitor's soldiers has them in his sights. With a chilling smirk, the traitor basically says, "Not so fast," ready to shut this escape down. He pulls out some kind of device from his belt, preparing to unleash another nasty surprise. Two projectiles shoot out, unleashing a massive energy net meant to ensnare them all. This commander looks up in horror as the sky itself seems to crack and shatter above them. And just like that, the entire escape party is caught, tangled up and completely helpless. Standing victorious, the traitor mocks Chinzai for thinking his weakling friends could ever outrun him. Chinzai can only watch as one of the commander's armored soldiers gets snagged in the net too. With our boy pinned, the traitor gloats that there is absolutely nowhere left for them to run. This traitor then reports to some unseen superior that the targets are captured, awaiting his next order. Our boy is just freaking out, realizing his grand escape plan just went up in smoke. And with a chilling smile, the traitor gives the simple order to just take them both out. Suddenly, the goon holding him gets absolutely launched by a surprise attack from behind. Even the traitor is shocked, barely dodging the human projectile that used to be his soldier. It is one of the commander's own soldiers, having broken free from the net to intervene. Before Chinzai can even process that, another one of the traitor's goons grabs him in a chokehold. This new guy immediately slams him into the ground with enough force to shatter the concrete. But the goon is stunned, realizing just how much power our boy is still packing despite the curse. Barely down for a second, Chinzai starts pushing back from the crater with terrifying force. In a complete reversal, he grabs the goon, whose confidence just evaporated completely. With his eyes glowing pure purple, our boy lets out a feral roar, clearly done playing nice. Unleashing his rage, he goes absolutely berserk on the guy, who is now screaming in pure terror. A vicious headbutt connects, sending the soldier reeling from the sheer, brutal impact. Completely dazed, the soldier cannot even defend as Chinzai prepares to finish this. Dark energy crackles around his claws as he channels his spirit's power for a final blow. A volley of shadowy spikes erupts from his hand, flying straight at the helpless goon. Then he follows up with a spinning claw attack that just shreds the poor guy to ribbons. This last goon is left screaming, having learned a valuable lesson about personal space. Chinzai gets right in the traitor's face, taunting that his fancy sword is useless up close. But his dragon spirit warns him his life force is draining fast. He is running on pure willpower. His power erupts in one final, desperate flash before completely fizzling out. This traitor gloats that he will torture Chinzai's human body to sever the link to his dying spirit. Tied to a pole, the commander yells for him to hold on, placing a lot of faith in a very captured man. Suddenly, a wave of golden fire rips through the battlefield, taking out the traitor's soldiers. A mysterious new armored fighter blazes onto the scene like a comet, moving too fast for the goons to even track, let alone fight. And this fiery newcomer is just effortlessly tearing through their ranks. He clashes with another soldier in a blur of orange and blue energy, before landing a brutal, flame-wreathed kick that sends the guy flying. This dude is just a one-man army, calmly dispatching the traitor's entire squad, and another soldier gets launched into the stratosphere by his fiery assault. This traitor has no clue who this is, wondering if another commander sent reinforcements. Meanwhile, Heisha is just praying she does not get accidentally barbecued by the new help, so the traitor orders his men to use some kind of bewitching fluid to smoke him out. Ascent, the blonde commander, immediately recognizes with a look of pure dread, and Heisha realizes they are gassing their own hostages, a truly 5-star tactical decision. This fiery warrior is now right behind them, caught in the smoke as it starts to take effect. Heisha is absolutely fuming, complaining that the fiery entrance just blew away their only chance at a counterattack. This new fiery warrior calmly announces he is here to help, looking way too relaxed for this disaster. Meanwhile, the traitor is still monologuing over a pinned Chinzai, completely oblivious to the new arrivals. But a hand suddenly shoots out, grabbing his wrist and stopping the killing blow mid-swing. It is another new ally with spiky hair, though the traitor just assumes he is begging for mercy. Completely unimpressed, the traitor orders his men to tie the new guy up, a classic villain blunder. With a smug grin, the spiky-haired ally informs him that his soldiers are a little indisposed. And right on cue, the traitor's entire squad just starts dropping out of the sky like puppets with their strings cut. This traitor is absolutely losing it, realizing this newcomer has some kind of magic he never saw coming. This new guy just gives him a look that says, "I am giving you one last chance to run, idiot." Before the traitor can even process that, a blur of motion slams into him from the side. He barely manages to block the attack, completely shocked by yet another party crasher. A woman with long white hair comes flying in, landing a solid kick that sends him stumbling. She then uses his shoulders as a literal springboard, which has got to be humiliating. Another kick sends the traitor skidding across the ground, and he finally recognizes his attacker. She lands beside the spiky-haired ally, apologizing for being late and offering to help teach the traitor some manners. While the traitor rants about his authority, the spiky-haired guy powers up with purple energy, looking bored. This traitor just cannot believe it, wondering how this guy is even standing, let alone fighting back. And he gets his answer in the form of a brutal kick delivered directly to his face. Bleeding but absolutely furious, the spiky-haired ally dares the traitor to bring that same energy from before. This spiky-haired ally is just pummeling the traitor, screaming at him for daring to make threats. From the sidelines, the white-haired woman is in disbelief, realizing the traitor just picked a fight he cannot win. While the traitor writhes on the ground screaming, his attacker just tries to catch his breath. He grabs the traitor by the collar, furiously defending his right to exist in the city. Barely conscious, the traitor mocks him for not understanding the city's rules. He is a marked man now. His eyes glowing, the spiky-haired guy realizes this is all about the power inside him, which he will never surrender. And his grand motivation for all this chaos, he just says he has a conscience. With the battle over, the traitor's forces are scattered and his legendary spirit killer blade is shattered. Our spiky-haired hero is completely gassed, leaning on some debris just to stay on his feet. That burst of power was temporary as his legs finally buckle and he starts to fall. But the white-haired woman catches him mid-fall, much to his surprise. Holding him steady, she tries to give him some medicine, saying it'll ease the pain and keep him alive. Just then, the apparent mastermind appears, smugly monologuing about his long-term plan to assassinate her. This white-haired woman faces him down as the mastermind reveals their last fight left him crippled for years. He then unleashes a tidal wave of molten earth, trapping her in a sea of fire. Plunging into the inferno, she pulls out a small, sealed jar, clearly her last resort. From the container, two massive blue spirits emerge, swirling into the air like ethereal guardians. These spirits instantly create a massive whirlpool of blue energy, fighting back against the sea of fire. In the eye of this elemental storm, she focuses all her will, clearly straining to hold the line. And the two opposing forces meet in a cataclysmic explosion that just obliterates the landscape. This mastermind explains he only survived their last fight by using a special spirit-gathering tool. In a flashback, the white-haired woman basically tells him his family's expectations are a one-way ticket to Villain Town. Lying defeated, he whines about how she ignored him until some new master gave him attention. And with a grimace, he finds his new, much more evil purpose in life. Suddenly, some dark entity announces it is time to take over, which is never a good sign. This mastermind just laughs maniacally, begging this Crimson Emperor to lend him its power. Now a hulking monster, he looms over her, ready to pay any price for this sweet power-up. A pair of glowing red eyes in the dark just screams for its spirit to be returned. Meanwhile, some new bandaged-up goon gets his orders: become a puppet and hunt our heroes. This white-haired woman realizes with horror exactly who this new monster is targeting. Screaming about his new master, the monster goon lunges right past her. This world seems to shatter as his real target becomes terrifyingly clear. He is not after her at all, he is making a beeline for the spiky-haired guy. Both the spiky-haired guy and the woman reach out, trying to stop the inevitable collision. It is a mad dash as the monster closes in, completely ignoring her attempts to intervene. She quickly forms a hand sign, unleashing some kind of binding spell to lock him down. With a clenched fist, she activates the technique, pouring her energy into it. Her spell works, encasing the charging monster in a sphere of dark energy. Looking down, she has managed to contain the threat, keeping the spiky-haired guy safe for now. This monster goon can only rage inside his new spherical prison, completely neutralized. This monster goon immediately starts wailing on his spherical prison, not a fan of containment. He follows up with a series of brutal kicks, actually managing to crack the energy cage. But the effort is clearly tearing him apart as some kind of dark power surges through his arm. With a final push, the sphere shatters in a massive blast that sends him flying. His body contorts in agony as he screams about his neck snapping, which is a terrible sign. After a moment, he seems to shake off the initial shock of his violent jailbreak. Now sporting a second head, he frantically searches for his target, demanding to know where the spirit is. This white-haired woman is having none of this, reaching out to shut him down for good. In a bizarre move, she uses her power to lift some other random blonde guy into the air. She offers a quick apology, which probably is not much comfort to the guy she just yeeted. Even the two-headed monster seems confused by this sudden human projectile strategy. An unseen force suddenly rips his arms clean off as he is dragged down from above. He is then slammed into the ground with enough force to create yet another massive crater. Lying broken and literally disarmed, the monster's rampage is finally, definitively over. Chinzai confirms to the others that the puppet is neutralized, explaining he is no longer himself anyway. Right on cue, the fiery warrior lands nearby, carrying the rescued blonde commander. Chinzai and Heisha share a look of pure relief, finally reunited after all that chaos. She rushes over to check on him, and he admits he's got a new hole in his chest. All that remains of the traitor's squad are some unconscious bodies and his shattered sword. A new, long-haired ally arrives, telling Chinzai he knew this would happen if he came. This new long-haired ally tells the white-haired woman to take the kid and the medicine somewhere safe. Our spiky-haired hero, barely conscious, looks up and asks who this new guy even is. He introduces himself as a fellow spirit host, but says to just call him Big Bird, which is a choice. Barely conscious, our boy just agrees, putting all his trust in a man named Big Bird. And with a warning to hold on, Big Bird erupts in a pillar of fire to make his exit. The sheer force of his takeoff sends Heisha flying, because subtlety is for other people. As they rocket through the air, the injured guy begs him to slow down before he literally falls apart. Meanwhile, the white-haired woman directs the others to a tavern, identifying the commander as a master sorcerer. She checks on the unconscious commander, dismissing the master title and clarifying he just passed out. After a moment, the blonde commander starts to wake up, looking completely out of it. He sits up, totally confused about where he is and what just happened to him. But then his eyes lock onto the white-haired woman and a wave of recognition hits him. She just gives him a gentle smile, relieved that her student is finally okay. His face just crumples as he realizes who she is, tearfully calling her master. Overcome with emotion, he throws himself into her arms for a long-awaited reunion. He sobs that he thought she was gone forever, but she says her mission is not over yet. This commander starts blaming himself for joining the corrupt security company to restore his family's honor. Heisha cuts in, demanding to know what the company is doing with the spirits they have been stealing. Internally, Heisha is fuming, convinced this is just a classic ploy to get intel out of her. But the master reassures her, saying she knows Heisha's heart is in the right place. This master explains that fate has a nasty habit of completely ignoring your plans. She tells her student he has his own path now, offering him an out if he wants to save his career. From the sidelines, Heisha is watching this whole heartfelt reunion with maximum suspicion. This master then proposes they team up to shatter the old rules and give everyone a proper home. Internally, Heisha just sees another master-student fallout coming and prepares to save her own skin. But the blonde commander seems all in, asking his master what their next move is. Meanwhile, Big Bird is still rocketing through the city with our injured hero in tow. He makes a grand entrance by smashing directly through a window because doors are for chumps. After landing, he tells the barely conscious kid to hang on, they are almost there. Big Bird reassures him they are in his room and it is totally safe, which is debatable given the entry method. He then barrels down the stairs of a tavern, screaming for the owner to show himself. Demanding to know where the black market healing pod is, the bartender casually says he is using it for his fish. Big Bird's face is a perfect picture of you did what, as he screams for help. Upstairs, our spiky-haired hero is completely out of it, fading fast from his injuries. Panicking, Big Bird tries to shake him awake, begging his brother not to die. They rush to move him, a blur of motion as the urgency skyrockets. Both men carry him toward a glowing pool of water, which is apparently the repurposed healing pod in a completely different scene. Some guy in a mask brags to his boss about being a fish expert. He proudly identifies the fish in the tank as a rare tropical species from the cichlid family. And then he starts explaining their color-changing mating rituals, which is definitely not what anyone was expecting. Our masked fish expert is still going, explaining the rarity of some green-headed lantern fish. His boss is completely baffled by this sudden biology lesson, demanding to know what he is even looking at. Meanwhile, in a totally different part of the city, all hell has broken loose after a commander's death. Some corporate-looking dude is on the floor, begging for his life and offering to pay up. But the pigtail girl is having none of it, her rage flaring up as she tells him to shove it. And his next stop is a high-speed exit through the nearest plate glass window. So long, pal. In yet another corner of the city, some ghost man is grabbing kids and screaming about repopulation. A commander orders his troops to go to high alert and just shoot the attackers on sight. Their target, a giant bat creature, just tanks all their energy blasts like they are nothing. It lets out a sonic roar, clearly unimpressed with their efforts. This shockwave just sends the soldiers scattering like bowling pins. Cutting away from the chaos, a doctor prepares a syringe while looking out over the city. Inside a lab, a high-ranking officer watches over a scientist examining a body on a slab. He reports they found a fragment on the body that seems to be a mark left by the attacker. With time running out, the officer tells his sorcerer associate it is time to make their next move. This order is to find this new spirit host because some supreme lord wants what is inside him. Just then, a subordinate reports that all personnel are assembled, prompting an immediate strategy meeting. Elsewhere, in a dark, creepy chamber, a skeleton with a blue flaming head just sits there waiting. Into this chamber walks a robed figure carrying a tray past more flaming skeletons and a ritual circle. On the tray are the essentials for any good ritual: a dagger, a goblet, and a vial of mystery juice. This robed attendant begins the ritual by mixing blood from their own hand with some dark, mysterious liquid. Elsewhere, a pink-haired swordsman with a magnificent mustache kneels, preparing for his own intense ceremony. His eyes are shut in deep concentration as a powerful blue aura flares to life all around him. Before him sit the tools of his trade, a vial of dark potion and a goblet of what looks like blood. He is the epicenter of a massive, swirling magic circle that just explodes with raw energy. Cutting to a totally different brawl, some demonic-looking swordsman with purple armor goes on the offensive. He unleashes a powerful blast that sends his opponent, a guy in a respirator, flying backward. And then a new challenger enters the ring, a bruiser in a rhino helmet with a single glowing red eye. This guy throws a punch that creates a literal shockwave, knocking his target clean off their feet. He is just a blur of absolute carnage, moving with incredible speed and overwhelming power. But then he gets rocked so hard he is literally seeing stars, which is a pretty bad sign for a rhino man. Meanwhile, a nearby business has wisely hung up a sign saying they are closed for internal adjustments. From a safe distance, a purple-haired man peeks out, noting the city's a mess but someone is protected. Back at the tavern, our boy is still unconscious in that glowing, repurposed fish tank healing pod. His new allies are already debating the best way to extract the spirit from him while he is vulnerable. A bald man offers the pink-haired leader some food, but she snaps that she is in no mood to eat. She then turns to their blonde tech specialist, telling her to figure out a safe way to get the spirit out. But the specialist points out their healing pod is basically an antique and the security company has better gear. This pink-haired leader immediately gets it. They are planning to use his treatment as a Trojan horse to infiltrate the company. Her blonde subordinate just gives a grim look, confirming their high-stakes heist is officially on. This blonde specialist argues that calling for backup would just expose their position, leaving them all trapped. Her pink-haired leader responds by stomping the communicator to bits. So much for a democratic process. This leader glares, already sick of this attitude and wondering what new scheme is being cooked up. Meanwhile, the specialist feels like she is being constantly monitored and targeted by her own teammate. Their argument escalates into a full-on power-up, with the poor bald guy stuck between their glowing red eyes. In another location, a robed woman holds a sword that is practically bursting with brilliant energy. This white-haired master looks on in shock, realizing the spirit inside the kid is undergoing a major change. Inside the healing pod, our boy starts to stir as a mustached man watches over him. But then he starts convulsing violently as his vitals go haywire, his body clearly rejecting the treatment. This robed woman senses an external power interfering, wondering if it is just her imagination. From outside the pod, the mustached observer recognizes one of the women but has no clue who the other is. A bright light erupts from our hero's chest, a sign the spirit and body are having a violent disagreement. Leaning in close, the mustached man gets real creepy, wanting to see what a dying person is thinking. Our hero's consciousness drifts into a dark, starry void, barely aware of anything around him. He wakes up to find two clawed paws resting on his head, not your typical alarm clock. A tiny, horned creature gets launched into the air, apparently having been using his face as a perch. Completely bewildered, he turns to the little guy and just asks who or what it is. This little demon goat thing just lets out a proud little roar, looking surprisingly smug about it. And then it transforms into a gigantic armored monster with a massive energy sword materializing above. Our boy, completely unfazed, just looks up and asks if this colossal beast is supposed to be his partner. This little spirit explains it is fighting another entity inside him, forcing our boy to make a choice. He could just walk away, let the spirit die, and go back to being a normal, boring person. Or he can save his partner, team up, and face a future that is guaranteed to be a total mess. His spirit partner demands he show some renewed hope and finally make a decision. Suddenly, a horrifying memory flashes back, being experimented on by some shady scientists. This trauma sends his consciousness plummeting into a bizarre, purple digital abyss. From below, his little partner calls out, now glowing with blue flames and desperately needing him. Our boy is completely panicked, reaching out into the void as he falls. But then he finds his footing and starts sprinting across the strange, floating cubes. He lands with enough force to crack the very fabric of this weird mindscape. In response, the spirit erupts into its true, colossal armored form. Gritting his teeth, he tells himself to just hang on and get through this trial. Now he is in a full-on parkour sequence, leaping between platforms like a seasoned pro as he lands. A massive pillar of blue energy bursts from the ground, raw power unleashed. Instead of flinching, he calmly reaches out to touch the chaotic energy stream. And just like that, he is standing on the giant's head, taming the blue flames like it is nothing. But then a sinister version of himself appears, asking if he is really sure about this. This dark self tries to tempt him, reminding him that he is only human after all. This mental strain is clearly immense as our hero sweats, caught in this internal battle. His inner demon offers one last deal, kill the spirit and get his old life back for good. His inner demon makes one last pitch, screaming that he is a monster who will never belong. But our boy appears right behind him, telling his dark self to stop whining and think about his future. He flatly rejects the doppelganger, declaring with total certainty, "You are not me." This dark self is just stunned into silence, completely unprepared for this sudden backbone. With a final declaration, he smashes his fist down, erupting with pure blue energy. Suddenly, he is armed with an energy sword, facing a new mental intruder with a ponytail. He roars at the guy to get out of his consciousness and immediately goes on the offensive. This ponytail sorcerer throws up a shield, completely shocked by this kid's raw power, and he gets sent flying backward right over our boy's giant armored spirit partner. After a very ungraceful landing, he skids to a halt across the mindscape floor. This psychic backlash hits hard, his face literally cracking with golden energy. A moment later, his mental form shatters into pieces, utterly defeated. His giant spirit partner just scoffs, calling the intruder another weak, third-rate sorcerer. Outside the pod, the mustached man smirks, revealing the whole psychic dive was just a mission to expose their location. Back inside, the defeated intruder realizes he is completely paralyzed from the waist down. Our boy just smirks, coolly reminding him he picked the wrong person's head to invade. Dark energy swirls from the floor, trapping the sorcerer's legs in a terrifying purple vortex. As the final attack powers up, the intruder starts pathetically begging for his life. In the real world, the sorcerer's ritual setup begins to corrupt as dark power overwhelms him, and the spirit unleashes a massive energy blast to permanently evict the trespasser. Back in the real world, the sorcerer is screaming his head off as the psychic feedback fries his brain. He gets blasted away from his own ritual circle, which shatters from the sheer force of his failure. A subordinate sprints down a hallway to deliver an urgent report to his commander. That commander gets the news. Their psychic specialist has had a bit of an accident. His men find the sorcerer's body embedded in a wall, completely unresponsive. This boss just scoffs, dismissing his now useless minion without a second thought. With that plan in shambles, he tells a new squad of superpowered candidates to hunt the spirit core instead. This order sends them straight into the neon-drenched chaos of District 9's streets. Two new hunters, a long-haired guy and a green-skinned bruiser, survey the carnage. They have got their target, a holographic image of our boy who they know is badly injured and hiding. This green guy suggests they just go to a hospital and start breaking kneecaps for info. His partner calls him an idiot, pointing out a high-level target would not be at some public clinic. This bruiser insists he knows they are supposed to be discreet biohunters. But then he grins, admitting he just wants to keep his kill record high and loves the thrill of the hunt. Suddenly, a dark energy slash whips past them, narrowly missing the long-haired leader. Both of them immediately snap to attention, realizing they are not alone. They find some beast-masked guy on the ground who weakly asks for their help. He mistakes them for members of the Golden Lion Troop, but they have never heard of them. This green-skinned hunter just grabs the guy, excited to have found a new prey to warm up on. Shoving a hologram of our hero in his face, the leader asks if he has seen this person. This hunter leader tries to redirect his partner, but a massive new enemy literally drops into the fight. This bald brawler with a staff comes crashing down, aiming to finish off the wounded masked man. He slams his weapon down with brutal force, completely shattering the guy's defenses. Not to be left out of the fun, the long-haired hunter zips into the fray at blinding speed, and the poor masked guy gets a spike straight through the jaw for all his trouble. Then another attacker sprouts spikes from his own body, turning the victim into a human pincushion. More armored goons hit the pavement, escalating the street scuffle into a full-blown turf war. This long-haired hunter just smirks, telling his new allies to stand down and let a professional work. His green-skinned partner corners the rest of the crew, one of whom is literally dissolving into black mist. He then casually tosses the guy's remains back at his terrified friends, a real class act. One of the survivors powers up into a monstrous form, preparing for a desperate last stand. Meanwhile, back at the tavern, a communication device starts urgently blinking on a side table. This pink-haired leader, however, is completely passed out at the bar, sleeping on the job. At least the blonde specialist is still working diligently on our boy's healing pod. A masked subordinate rushes in to report the escalating situation to a white-haired woman. This finally rouses the pink-haired leader from her drunken slumber, looking less than thrilled to be awake. A holographic distress call confirms their team outside is getting torn apart by unknown hostiles. This agent on the ground reports these new guys are professionally trained and way out of their league. This white-haired woman immediately orders her crew to mobilize and provide support on the street, but she tells the pink-haired girl and her masked partner to stay behind and guard their unconscious boss. This blonde specialist watches the pod, totally confused as our boy's vitals suddenly stabilize. Inside his mindscape, he is just lounging around like he is on vacation, completely unbothered. His spirit partner explains it is just absorbing the intruder's power to heal his busted-up body. Our boy then asks if that is how his partner got its own fancy energy sword in the first place. This spirit confirms it, saying these kinds of weapons need a blessing from a god to even function. It is apparently like getting a good luck charm consecrated, a concept our boy is clearly not buying. Since the spirit needs time to fully sync with the new weapon, he decides to help with some mental training. Meanwhile, back in the real world, a swarm of surveillance drones floods the skies over the district. Some smug guy with a visor pilots them, complaining that he has not found his target yet. His drones start scanning the locals, lasering in on some poor soul hiding out in an alley. This facial scan is a bust, but the interface confirms they are definitely hunting for our boy. These things are now harassing civilians, demanding they shut up and cooperate with the citywide search. From his remote seat, the pilot scoffs at the chaos, getting jealous of another candidate with actual wings. Suddenly, one of his precious drones gets blasted out of the sky, which definitely was not in the manual. A second one is immediately sliced apart, proving someone is actively fighting back. His remaining fleet then flies straight into an invisible wall protecting a nearby tower. Realizing he is up against a sorcerer, the pilot starts to look a little less smug. A quick switch to thermal vision reveals several people inside, plus one giant horned heat signature. Deciding this is way too spicy for him, he immediately calls for the death squad to handle it. And right on cue, a massive transport appears overhead, ready to drop off the real muscle. This death squad gets the go order, and their attack jets immediately swarm the city. A targeting system locks onto the crew's not-so-secret rooftop hideout. And with zero warning, they just blow the entire roof off the building. Inside, the explosion sends the blonde specialist and her team flying across the room. This rattles our boy's healing pod, and he starts choking as the life support system fails. At the same time, the sorcerer's protective barrier shatters into a million pieces. One of the agents on the ground freaks out, screaming that their only defense is gone. Outside, the new squad leader just calmly waits for the dust to settle. This blonde specialist looks out and confirms they are absolutely, totally surrounded by hostiles. One of the new guys offers the classic "come out, we will not hurt you" line, which is never true. This pink-haired girl desperately asks what they are supposed to do now that they are trapped, so the blonde decides to go out and stall them herself while the others move our boy. She is hoping her rank will protect her, but the enemy leader is not here for a negotiation. Because up above, the remaining drones are already lining up for another shot, and another missile comes screaming down, aimed right at their front door. Bravely walking out to negotiate, she is immediately told to get on her knees, but then one of their own drones comes crashing through the roof right behind them. As another explosion rocks the street, she screams at them, asking what they have done. Her expression is just pure rage at the sudden, violent turn of events. And back inside, the pink-haired girl and her partner are already down for the count. This explosion has totally wrecked our boy's healing pod, which is now sparking and smoking. Inside, he is thrashing around in the fluid, clearly choking as the life support gives out, and all the monitors are screaming system malfunction as his vitals start to crash. Back in his mindscape, he realizes his body is dying and he needs to get back to reality like now. But his spirit partner is too busy cackling and absorbing all that sweet, sweet power for itself. As our boy gets blasted with energy, he just wonders if this whole nightmare is finally over. Suddenly, in the real world, a mysterious guy in a red shirt emerges from the rubble carrying the pink-haired leader. His surviving enemies are stunned, wondering how this random dude survived the blast. One of the candidates wants to just let him go, but his buddy insists they have the numbers to take him down. Even the blonde specialist is just staring, completely baffled by this new development. She cannot believe anyone could have miraculously survived that kind of direct hit. So one of the hunters steps up, demanding the red-shirted guy tell them where the spirit core is. This rescuer just smirks, telling them they will never get their hands on it. He stands his ground against the whole squad, basically daring them to try something. But then our actual boy appears, shirtless and crackling with purple energy, announcing he is the spirit core. This hunters totally freak out, realizing the core has merged with him and decide to just dogpile him. Our boy just grits his teeth, complaining that having to fight while he is hungry is super annoying. Then he pulls a massive energy blade right out of his own chest, talk about a party trick. He immediately lunges at the winged candidate, who was probably feeling pretty special a second ago. And with one clean swipe, he slices through 3 of them like they are nothing but air. This remaining hunters are completely floored, realizing they are way out of their league. Our boy just smirks, saying that was only 30% power and they'd be dead if he got serious. His demonic claw seems to be resonating with the new energy blade, creating a perfect fusion. With the sword now glowing crimson, he declares he is here to wash away their sins, real dramatic. But his big speech gets cut short by a volley of sharp projectiles from a new attacker. He easily sidesteps the ambush, not even breaking a sweat against the surprise assault. This culprit is a new white-haired guy with some serious claws looking for his own piece of the action. From a rooftop perch, this newcomer is clearly just a sneaky opportunist waiting for his moment. Seeing another enemy, the rest of the squad decides to just dogpile him, a truly brilliant strategy. What follows is a chaotic blur of purple energy as our boy absolutely dismantles the mob. One of the goons gets sent flying, taken down by some ridiculously named special move. This whole street is a warzone now, with bodies everywhere and that red-shirted guy still fighting. Meanwhile, the blonde specialist finds her 2 teammates just passed out cold on a bench. She is just relieved they are unconscious and not, actually dead after all that. Waking up, the pink-haired girl has no idea what to do with our boy now that their mission is a wreck. A vision shows some master figure holding him at swordpoint, confirming he is a whole new threat. This blonde specialist is just worried about her career, since failing again could get her demoted. Clutching her collar, she desperately tries to figure out her master's real endgame in all this. She wonders if he is just using our boy to regain his own power, hinting at a bigger conspiracy. And as she thinks a targeting system locks right onto our boy's eyes, he is still the main prize. Our boy zips across the rooftop with his new blade, moving like a blur to chase down his target. But the white-haired claw user is just waiting for him, ready to turn the kid into a shish kebab. Leaping from a higher ledge, our guy dives straight down for a surprise attack from above. This hunter's projectiles just narrowly miss him, with the guy yelling that there is no escape. With a totally unhinged grin, our boy basically invites the dude to become his next meal. Their fight erupts in a flash of purple energy as he blocks a nasty kick with his blade. Meanwhile, the blonde specialist spots one of the surveillance drones heading right for the battle. And that smug pilot is back, gloating that it is time to see if his tech can beat their powers. This red-shirted rescuer is having a full-on crisis, torn between helping his master and betraying the company. Realizing the stakes, the blonde specialist knows she is caught between 2 terrible choices. She finally makes a decision, screaming that she has to help and sprinting toward the chaos. Back on the roof, our boy taunts the claw freak for being a coward who only attacks from the shadows. He then casually bats away another projectile with his demonic hand, completely unimpressed. His opponent admits the weapon is strong, but worries his own power is fading from the strain. Our boy just tells him to make it easy on himself and surrender, a truly generous offer. Suddenly, they both notice a drone hovering overhead, live streaming their little deathmatch for everyone. From the drone's perspective, we see a targeting system lock right onto the 2 fighters. That visor-wearing pilot grins maniacally, giving the death squad the official order to attack. An entire fleet of attack jets immediately swarms the rooftop, ready to light the whole place up. Seeing the incoming barrage, our boy screams a warning as they open fire. Twisting through the sky, our boy realizes they are not just shooting, they are using homing missiles, which immediately detonates, sending him hurtling through the air from the sheer force of the blast. His rival does not miss a beat, intercepting him midair with a brutal energy strike, slamming him straight into the ground as the drones just hover there watching the show, and the jets just keep firing, unleashing another massive explosion on the already wrecked building. From his chair, the pilot grins, revealing he is just using this fight to test new weapons for a fat paycheck. Down below, a giant rock monster bursts out of the street and the hunters are already fighting over the prize. His rival just watches from above, asking if that is really all it took to finish him. As the smoke begins to clear, a couple of the other hunters sense that something is definitely not right, because our boy is standing in the crater, now in some kind of full-body demonic armor, saying it barely stung. This sends the pilot and the ground crew into a full-blown panic. They cannot believe he is unkillable. With a single stomp, he shatters the ground beneath him, ready for round 2. His new plan is simple: find the person controlling those missiles and end this. Suddenly, a squad of hooded sorcerers shows up, apparently here to back him up. Leaping into the fray, they announce they are here to help even the odds. But our boy does not look like he needs any help, powering up with a surge of golden energy. Unleashing it in a massive energy wave, he roars at them, asking if that is really all they have got. Except that blast hits his own supposed allies, sending the sorcerers flying like ragdolls. One of the sorcerers is already down, coughing up blood, totally wrecked by the help. Then, to cap off the chaos, a ridiculously fancy car just rolls up to the scene. One of the hooded sorcerers tries to pull off some rock-throwing trick, looking absolutely terrified. But our boy just casually uses telekinesis to turn the entire street's car inventory into projectiles. He decides to take out these helpful sorcerers first, since they are clearly just getting in the way. Zipping through the chaos he created, he closes in on his target like a heat-seeking missile. He does not even bother going around a van, just plows straight through it like a bowling ball. Popping up in the sorcerer's face, he announces that the game of Dodge the Sedan is officially over. Then with a single stomp, the entire street cracks open like an eggshell, sending a literal wall of asphalt hurtling towards the remaining hooded goons. He unleashes some kind of mountain-splitting attack because subtlety is for other people. With one swing, he smashes his own projectile into a million deadly pieces. This sends the poor sorcerer flying backwards, completely overwhelmed by the shrapnel. Landing with a thud, his demonic feet seem to lock him firmly to the ground. He asks the survivors if they will give up, but they just try to recruit him, talk about reading the room. Just then, the pilot's attack jets scream back onto the scene for another bombing run, and one of the sorcerers gets absolutely vaporized in a missile strike mid-sentence. His last words are basically just complaining about the missile's terrible timing, a true professional. Meanwhile, the blonde specialist is scaling a fire escape, trying to get a better view of the chaos. She knows she cannot fight our boy, so her new mission is to find and stop that drone pilot. Based on her training, she quickly pinpoints the most likely sniper's nest for the command center. This jet's flight path confirms it. They are all converging on a single deployment point. This blonde specialist finally gets a lock on the drone pilot's location, mission back on. Down below, the street is just a smoking ruin littered with casualties from the earlier chaos. And our boy just smirks, basically telling the wreckage that everyone brought this on themselves. He is a little annoyed he could not keep one of the sorcerers conscious to get some answers. Just then, a drone zips down towards his white-haired rival, catching our boy's attention. But the claw user just snatches it out of the air, asking if it is here to deliver a prize. Our boy is not impressed since he just crushed their only lead on the pilot, real helpful dude. His rival admits he is too beat up to continue, giving props to our boy's overwhelming strength. With a smug look, our guy basically accepts the surrender, telling him he is smart to quit. This guy then reveals he is also a wanted man, just a few rungs down the threat ladder. Our boy's response is a classic "never heard of you," a truly savage shutdown. That gets a reaction as the rival summons his own spirit, insisting it is a friendly gesture. Recognizing the spirit's clan, our boy notes they do not seem as evil as the stories say. Apparently this clan looks friendly but is actually an untouchable, heavily armored powerhouse. So our boy asks what the deal is, but the rival insists he is not looking for another fight. He explains that with the old commander dead, everyone here is a candidate vying for the top spot. Capturing the spirit core is the golden ticket. The winner gets whatever they want from the higher-ups. All this guy wants is to clear his name and get out of the city for a quiet life. Our boy just shuts that dream down cold, telling him he has zero chance of winning this. As his body starts to dissolve, the rival asks if our boy does not want freedom too. This rival explains that our boy's power is what everyone's after, but the kid's not buying it. Apparently becoming the Red Emperor completely wipes your criminal record, a citywide get-out-of-jail-free card. He even tries to sell it as a way to ease our boy's burden. What a thoughtful guy. Our hero seems to consider this for a hot second, but then his brain re-engages. With a smirk, he points out that his actions have already ticked off the big boss, so simple plans are out. His rival warns that this lone wolf act will just get him and his spirit erased for good. We see him telling some other poor soul that outsiders just do not get the city's unforgiving rules. But the claw user reveals there is another way to solve their problems, a new target on his list. He points to the distant Red Emperor Tower, asking if our boy sees his ticket out. Our guy's eyes lock onto the new objective, the wheels clearly turning in his head. And there it is, a massive tower shooting a giant laser into the sky because subtlety is dead. This kid scoffs, wondering why he'd bother with the final boss when he could just surrender to middle management. His rival explains the city is actually run by a council of powerful families all keeping each other in check. This order to hunt down spirit users like him came straight from the top of that food chain, so the claw freak admits he is taking this huge risk because he is just as scared of getting caught. He even gives our boy some props, admitting he never expected to meet someone this strong, which our hero absolutely laps up, glowing like a self-satisfied Christmas tree. After a good laugh, the rival decides to finally get to the actual point of this whole conversation. He reveals a city-wide competition held every 5 years, a battle royale for powered people. This winner gets insane rewards and a pardon from the ruler, basically, a city-sanctioned deathmatch for freedom. Our boy processes this whole death tournament for a pardon sales pitch. His rival explains the entire bloody affair is hosted right inside that massive tower. Apparently, winning this thing gets you a full pardon and erases your entire criminal history. For the elites, it is a recruitment drive, but for guys like them, it is a shot at freedom, a perfect deal. This kid's still not sure he buys it, but the claw freak is already planning his training montage. With a confident smirk, he promises our boy that next time they meet, he will not lose. And just like that, he zips off, leaving our guy to chew on this absolutely insane offer. Mulling it over with his spirit dragon, he learns the competition is very, very real. His spirit explains that all sorts of powered people will be fighting for their own desperate reasons. But the price for losing is steep. The losers get captured and their powers are stripped away. Our boy cannot believe anyone would take that risk, but his spirit knows fame is a hell of a drug. Even the spirit admits the rewards are so good, it is hard not to be tempted by the offer. There is a catch, though. The rules change every single year, so nobody knows what to expect. Forgetting the details, our boy focuses on the prize, deciding a pardon is worth the risk. He is in. Just as he commits, his senses flare up as another one of those annoying drones buzzes past him. He spots a whole swarm of them converging on a nearby industrial tower. And look who it is, the blonde specialist, surrounded and being told to stand down by the drones. Our boy is completely floored, wondering what on earth she is doing up there. Meanwhile, that smug pilot is loving the chaos, hoping to lure out even more targets to play with. Totally done with these drones, our boy gets ready to hunt down the pilot once and for all. This drones immediately open fire, tearing up the tower with a barrage of purple energy blasts. Cornered on the fire escape, the blonde specialist realizes she has nowhere left to run. One of the drones fires a massive shell, completely obliterating the platform she is on. Caught in the smoke, she is more annoyed than anything, calling out the pilot's cheap shots. Through the haze, she spots a zipline leading down her one and only escape route. With no time to waste, she straps herself in, ready for a very desperate ride. But just as she is about to go, our boy spots a missile homing right in on her. She leaps onto the line just as the missile detonates, barely escaping the explosion. except the blast snaps the cable, sending her plummeting towards the street below. And in comes our hero, catching her midair like it is just another Tuesday. He lands safely on a nearby rooftop, saving her from a very messy introduction to the pavement. She is completely flustered by the sudden rescue while he is just glad he made it in time. Her brain immediately short-circuits, thinking about how solid his demon armor is. Priorities, people. Then she snaps out of it, trying to regain her composure and act like a total pro. Getting back to business, she points him toward the drone pilot's location in an abandoned building. He is ready to bolt, but she quickly stops him, needing to say one last thing. She promises to explain everything about her mission later as thanks for saving her life. Our boy just gives a confident nod, telling her he will see her after he is done. He leaps off the building to handle the pilot while she heads off to get her own backup. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the city, another armored brawler is powering up in a blaze of fire. That armored brawler from before is now locked in a fiery clash with some new white-haired fighter, but their duel is interrupted by a totally new armored brute and his partner showing up. They immediately start some kind of fusion technique, though the brute seems to be complaining the whole time. Now a single, hulking entity, the fusion monster, leaps down to attack the fiery brawler below. This fiery fighter just easily dodges, letting the monster crater the pavement instead. Its follow-up tail whip also misses wildly. This thing is all power and zero accuracy. Seeing an opening, the white-haired fighter dives in to attack the distracted fusion monster. Meanwhile, the fiery brawler just watches from the sidelines, admitting this creature is a new one for him. Ignoring the attack, the monster tries to recruit the fiery brawler, offering him a spot in their collective body. This white-haired fighter is having none of that, moving in to press his own attack. He just rips a huge metal pipe out of the ground, clearly done with all the talking. Winding up like a slugger, he smacks the monster right across the face with his new toy. This monster's tentacles try to block the hit but are completely overpowered by the sheer force of the swing. This brute half starts yelling at his partner, telling her to get the fusion under control. In response, the white-haired fighter unleashes a flurry of palm strikes, not giving them a second to recover. A rapid-fire barrage of glowing blue energy hammers away at the monster's chest. Deftly dodging a kick, he slips inside the monster's guard to continue the relentless assault. A solid palm strike lands right under the creature's chin, sending a shockwave through its body. This blow sends the massive monster stumbling backward, completely rocked by the hit. And he finishes the combo with a powerful two-handed strike right to the monster's face. That two-handed strike sends the massive fusion monster stumbling back, completely off balance. This white-haired fighter follows up with a devastating kick, yelling out her attack name. This sends the creature flying through a nearby building, shattering everything in its path. Totally stunned, the brute half cannot process how a sorcerer has this kind of raw physical power. She calmly explains it is an ancient martial art from the old world, the Eight Extremities Fist. Her opponent is furious, having never heard of the style and demanding to know who she is. Elsewhere, the fiery brawler's crew is scrambling through the streets, trying to regroup fast. He reports to his leader, a woman with light hair, that their brothers are on the move. She tells him to join them, but then asks what happened to that fusion monster they were fighting. Turns out the fusion has split, with the brute half crawling pathetically from under a car. Seeing his opponent is down, the fiery brawler just leaps away, leaving the mess behind. This brute can only grit his teeth, admitting he barely managed to escape with his life. All around him is just a crater of shattered rock from the absolute beatdown he just took. Still, he forces himself up, insisting a top-tier hunter does not fall that easily, sure buddy. From a streetlight, the fiery brawler taunts him, asking if he wants to keep fighting now he is alone. Deciding to cut his losses, the brute reminds himself his real target is the spirit, not these guys. He gives the female leader a final death glare, promising he will remember her face for this. Back with the team, the leader checks on her crew, who thankfully report only minor injuries. They confirm their fallen comrades were absorbed by the monster, but at least they have been avenged. With a stern look, she tells them to focus, reminding everyone of the important mission ahead. A crew member hands over a glowing red ingot to the white-haired leader, confirming the objective is secure. Meanwhile, the fiery brawler realizes she used the city-wide chaos as a perfect cover to snatch this thing. Back with our boy, he is closing in on the drone pilot's hideout, staring down a security bot's lens. He zips through the ruined cityscape, a blur of motion heading straight for his target's building. Inside, the smug pilot taunts him over the comms, daring him to stop hiding and face his missiles. This guy's holed up in a derelict high-rise with his little drone buddies swarming the skies outside. Patrolling the dark halls are some heavy-duty robot guards, blaring a high-alert warning. Our hero scopes them out from the shadows, noting the pilot brought AI security, how extra. He decides to skip the minions and go straight for the boss to avoid making a bigger scene. Taking a moment, he goes completely still, focusing all of his heightened senses for the hunt. His awakened sensory powers flare to life, letting him perceive everything in the building at once. A wave of energy expands from his position, mapping out every single vibration and movement inside. He picks up on everything, a fan, a fire, and even a toilet flushing somewhere on the upper floors. His senses lock onto that one specific sound, pinpointing the pilot's exact location with it. And his eyes snap open as he realizes the source is just water flowing through a toilet. Gotcha. This pilot, meanwhile, is just stretching and yawning, completely oblivious and complaining about being tired. Deciding he has had enough of a break, his hand moves back to the drone controls to resume the game. He puts on his visor to deploy more units, ready to get back to causing city-wide mayhem. At that exact moment, the ceiling explodes as our boy crashes right through it from above. A brutal knee to the gut sends the pilot flying, ending this little drone party once and for all. This pilot's face is a perfect picture of I have made a huge mistake as he gets rocked. He goes down hard, slamming into the floor with a very satisfying crunch. Lying in the rubble, the guy is completely out of it, seeing stars and bad life choices. To prevent a sequel, our boy starts smashing all the drone equipment into scrap metal. One final stomp grinds the last of the pilot's expensive toys into absolute dust. Standing over the mess, he looks every bit the hero who just cleaned house. Amid the wreckage, he finds a bunch of rolled-up blueprints, wondering what they are. Turns out they are professional-grade drone schematics. This guy was a genius, just an evil one. Deciding they might be useful, he scoops up the plans for later inspection. Just then, the pilot starts to stir, looking up in absolute terror. Our boy gives him a friendly, "Oh, you are awake," with the least friendly smile ever. Then he immediately knocks him out again, telling him not to stay up late. Lights out, buddy. With the crisis handled, he makes a cool exit through the hole in the wall. Elsewhere, the blonde specialist's backup finally arrives, calling out for their master. She runs up to them, confirming she is okay and that everyone is safe for now. Her master says it is not safe, but reassures the specialist that their target, Chinzayo, will be fine. This team splits up, with one sent to find Chinzayo while the specialist goes with her master. Back at the destroyed building, Chinzayo lands in the middle of the devastation. He looks around, wondering where his friends went and if they got into trouble. From a nearby rooftop, a girl with pink pigtails calls out his name, letting him know she is there. Chinzayo finally finds his friends, with the big guy explaining he was knocked out by the blast. He just casually confirms he dealt with the missile problem by taking out the pilot. This pink-haired girl explains that spirit users are just built different, with natural healing abilities. Meanwhile, her patient is still groaning about his concussion. Some people just cannot handle explosions. Suddenly, the sound of screeching tires cuts through the quiet street as a van pulls up fast. His danger sense immediately flares up, telling his friends to stay put while he checks it out. And out steps the blonde specialist he saved earlier. Looks like her backup has finally arrived. Recognizing her, Chinzayo tells everyone to stand down, confirming they are on the same side. These two teams finally meet up, with the specialist's crew joining Chinzayo's ragtag group. His pink-haired friend takes it all in, noting that everyone looks like they have been through hell. Getting straight to business, Chinzayo asks what their next move is now that they are all here. One of the new guys suggests they all pile into the van to get some rest before dawn breaks. Elsewhere, a massive, ominous tower stands tall against a stormy, lightning-filled sky. Deep inside the Red Emperor Tower, we descend into a massive underground shaft lined with pipes. At the bottom sits some kind of massive biomechanical entity, plugged into countless tubes and pulsing with power. Suddenly, a spectral green dragon roars to life, bursting out from the creature's core. It immediately shoots off at incredible speed, a blur of green light heading upwards. This energy being zips through the complex network of machinery, ascending the tower shaft. Reaching the top of the building, it seems to be heading for some kind of control hub. In a high-tech command room, a group of officials watch as this energy approaches a massive spherical core. A disembodied voice echoes through some kind of energy field, demanding more. This demand comes from a giant, regal projection of a guy named Lord Tei, who is not happy. His underlings are absolutely sweating, feeling the full weight of their boss's disappointment. They are all worried about not meeting their KPIs and, getting fired from their evil organization. Tei lays it out, the energy being consumed by their big project is way less than what they are feeding it. So naturally, his subordinates all bow and take the blame for this massive operational failure. A whole chorus of "my bad" goes up as they realize the city's power grid is about to go down. He then asks if they are ready for the city's superhumans to run wild without their control systems. One commander steps up, assuring him they are on it and reporting an increase in parasitic spirits. Turns out their giant biomachine, Pangu, literally feeds on these spirits to function, which makes the commander wonder if their big monster is just getting hungrier these days. Tei corrects him. It is not just about quantity, Pangu is demanding higher quality snacks now. And speaking of quality, he asks about that kid in District 9, Chinzayo, and the special spirit he has. This commander frantically promises he has sent his best people to get that spirit back, no problem. Tei gets real serious, revealing that spirit is the only thing that can actually threaten Pangu. A different, more demonic voice chimes in, saying high-level hosts are just future food for their god machine. Another commander, a huge dude from District 5, says he has sent his top hunters to bring Chinzayo in. With glowing red eyes, Tei declares all spirits are city property, needed to usher in a new era. His terrified lackeys all snap to attention, shouting their understanding, loudly. But while Tei lectures about order, some mustached guy is just gleefully thinking this chaos is all his fault. Turns out that mustached guy is the drone pilot's dad, and he is just full of regrets now. This commander Zhang Rui is just a mess, crying crocodile tears over his son's well-deserved beatdown. Of course, the grief immediately turns to rage as he vows revenge on the sorcerer and our boy Chinzayo. A purple-haired executive then steps up, explaining Tei is setting up a citywide superhuman struggle competition. This whole point is to lure Chinzayo into this game, control him, and get the spirit back for the big boss. And the rest of the evil board meeting is totally on board, a chorus of "I agree" from the yes men. With the promise of a big reward for his help, Zhang Rui looks ready to sell out anyone for revenge. Some other commander adjusts his glasses, deciding to pull up the intel on this new target. Checking the files, he notes that Chinzayo is not even on the official roster for their death tournament. Chinzayo's profile flashes on screen S-Class danger, and his only path to a normal life is through their little game. From his throne, Lord Tei just smugly asks if the kid really has any other option. Another commander, a real piece of work, grins and confirms, nope, no choice at all. And the whole room of corporate villains just cackles, loving the fact that he is completely cornered. Not satisfied with just one target, Zhang Rui vows to dig up all the dirt on that sorcerer as well. Meanwhile, completely oblivious to the evil board meeting about him, Qin Zhao is just waking up. He flops back down, thinking this bed is way too comfortable to leave just yet, time for another nap. But his peaceful morning is shattered when he opens his eyes to find his big buddy staring right at him. Qin Zhao completely freaks out, leaping out of bed and demanding to know what is going on. His buddy awkwardly gets dressed, admitting it is his first time as their friend explains there just were not enough beds. Shaking off the incredibly awkward morning, Qin Zhao just heads to the window to get some air. Qin Zhao spots his suitcase, wondering how it got here and who has been in his apartment. Deciding to worry about it later, he just opens it up to grab a change of clothes. Just then, a knock at the door has his big buddy answering the call. Meanwhile, our boy is in the middle of getting dressed, throwing on a fresh tracksuit. This pink-haired girl greets him with a frying pan, telling him he is late for breakfast. He asks how she got his stuff, and she explains the blonde specialist's crew retrieved it for him. Turns out his old apartment got completely tossed by the security division after the chaos. She tells him he is basically homeless now, so he might as well stick with their group. A worried look crosses his face as he realizes the specialist knows everything about them. His friend warns him to be careful since the specialist is still technically with the enemy, but the specialist overhears, retorting that her connections are how she gets them intel. She then dangles his ID card in front of him, asking if this is what he was looking for. Qin Zhao is stunned to see it, but then notices she is holding a second one too. This specialist explains he is a wanted man now, so he will need a fake ID to get by. And just like that, he's got a whole new identity. Welcome to the fugitive life, kid. This pink-haired girl immediately asks if she gets a fake ID too, since she is also on the run. With a smug grin, the specialist just tells her she is not important enough to warrant one ouch. This reduces her to a blubbering mess, realizing she has been demoted to the team cook. Elsewhere in the city, a massive damaged clock tower looms over the skyline. At the top, the white-haired leader gets a report that the blood essence is being extracted. This crew arrives at what looks like a resistance hideout, getting a greeting from the top. Qin Zhao gets introduced to a new face, a seriously built guy with white hair. This dude, Chen Tai, introduces himself by flexing because of course he does. Our boy politely thanks him for grabbing his luggage, trying to keep things normal. But Chen Tai immediately invades his personal space, getting way too close for comfort. Qin Zhao practically jumps out of his skin as the guy explains this is just the newbie welcome. He is quick to point out he never actually agreed to join their little club. Chen Tai just laughs it off, completely ignoring his protest with a smug grin. A woman with long purple hair steps in, recalling when Qin Zhao first came to them as a kid. He admits his original goal was to find a way to separate from his parasitic spirit. She confirms that the security division is the only group that can make that happen. But the blonde specialist warns him the process is brutal and the city wants its assets back. Qin Zhao shuts that down fast, declaring he and his spirit are a package deal now. He immediately questions what she meant by calling the spirits assets. She explains her job is just to capture dangerous hosts and turn their spirits over to the higher-ups. As for what happens next, she claims total ignorance, just following orders like a good soldier. So the purple-haired woman decides it is time for a history lesson about a massive citywide explosion. Turns out, this blast unleashed a flood of parasitic spirits all over the world, thanks to Tei's failed plan. This event shattered the old world, forcing a new era of coexistence between humans and superhumans, and the big reveal drops. The spirits are all just escaped assets from the city's secret projects. This purple-haired woman explains the spirits were originally kept in some dark, chaotic nest. To keep the peace, the blonde specialist's grandfather and his family stepped up to mediate. She confirms her grandpa built a whole force of mechs to act as the city's peacekeepers. These giant robots created a tense but stable balance between humans and spirit users. Her pink-haired friend finally connects the dots, realizing the specialist is from the famous Luo family. Turns out her family was a tech giant, basically running their own industrial empire back in the day. Qin Zhao asks why she kept her identity a secret, and she admits her family name is a death sentence here. Her family was destroyed when she was a kid, but her master saved her and she joined security to rebuild. In a memory, her master reminds her she is the heir, and she promises to never forget her duty. Little her vows to get strong enough to restore her family's honor, full of righteous fury, which apparently involves some very awkward martial arts training that she was not enjoying at all. Another student gets jealous, whining that the master is giving her special treatment, so she just immediately kicks him in the face. Problem solved, I guess. Her master decides that just punching things is not gonna be enough for her grand plan. So they bring in a former chief engineer from her family to be her new tutor. She looks less than thrilled about getting more homework, basically. This guy internally monologues about how he owes her family his life and will repay his debt to her. Qin Zhao's brain is just completely fried trying to keep up with all these family ties and ancient grudges. He and his friend realize they have stumbled into a generations-long corporate political war. And he finally snaps, demanding they stop with the history lesson and tell them the actual plan already. Chen Tai just puts Qin Zhao in a headlock, telling him to be quiet while she is explaining the grand evil plan. This purple-haired woman reveals Lord Tei is the one who destroyed both their families to eliminate his rivals. And behind Tei is an even bigger cosmic horror, Pangu, who is using him to literally end the world as they know it. Our boy is just floored, realizing they have all been living under the shadow of this world-ending monster. His pink-haired friend is also losing it, trying to process a creature that can control everyone's thoughts. With the stakes laid bare, the purple-haired woman announces their next mission: stop this apocalypse from happening.